Thank you all for your patience. We had a lot of things to discuss, and we're now returning from the executive session. The script says, I hereby announce the date is May 23rd, 2024, and the time is 6:23 p.m. No vote or action was taken in executive session. Therefore, we're returning to the regular session. And we pick up a regular agenda with item 4, which is Pledge of Allegiance invocation, and we will have the invocation after the pledge by Council Member Cunha. So if you'll all rise and join us in the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
If you will join me. Our Father in heaven, we're deeply grateful for all those who work for our city. We ask that thou might bless each of them, that they might feel of our gratitude and appreciation. Help them to feel supported in their roles. And we are grateful for each citizen that is willing to help our community move forward. And we ask that thou might bless them with ideas and energies to make our community better. We ask for a blessing upon our pools this summer, that they might stay safe places of recreation and joy for our residents. And we ask for special blessings upon all of our first responders, that they might be kept in thy watch care, that they might feel thy guidance and direction as they carry out their duties, that they might be able to move forward in confidence. And we are grateful for the many opportunities that we have, and we ask that thou might help those of us that will speak to us tonight and to each other, that we might be able to lead out in wisdom and in grace. And for these things we pray in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Ms. Cunha. The next item on our agenda just refers to the speaker protocol. Most of you are familiar with that, but it just reminds us to follow good protocol when you come forward to speak, those who are going to speak. We do have, I think, maybe a few people somewhere in the program that will speak. We move on from that to presentation of proclamations, awards, and recognitions. And I'm going to read this, and I'm going to move down in front with a microphone. So we're going to start with, we have 4 proclamations tonight. Item 5.1 is a presentation proclamation recognizing the George and Barbara Bush Foundation's 41 at 100 celebration, honoring the 100th anniversary of President George H.W. Bush's birthday. And I'm going to ask Dr. Robert Holzweiss to come down front and join me in this presentation.
John.
Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
Proclamation. Whereas President George Bush and First Lady Barbara Bush embraced the city of College Station and were honored to call themselves citizens of Aggieland. And whereas the George Bush Presidential Center has enjoyed being an integral member of the College Station community since its opening in 1997. And whereas the George and Barbara Bush Foundation is hosting a very special event, 41 at 100, a celebration of George H.W. Bush to commemorate what would have been President Bush's 100th birthday. And whereas the George Bush Presidential Center is poised to open a new pavilion featuring the Union Pacific 4141 locomotive and a former Marine One helicopter, which will be a premier destination for community members and visitors alike. And whereas, in the spirit of President Bush's affection for the city of College Station, the George and Barbara Bush Foundation would like to invite all of its citizens to participate in the Community Day celebration on Thursday, June 13th, 2024. And whereas the Bush Library and Museum thanks the citizens of College Station for their support and patronage and looks forward to sharing the spirit of this place with guests from around the world for many years to come. Now, therefore, I, John P. Nichols, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of City College Station, Texas, proclaim June 11th, 13th, 2024 as the 100th anniversary of the birth of George H.W. Bush, 41st President of the United States, in witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused to be affixed the seal of the City of College Station, Texas, this 23rd day of May, 2024. John P. Nichols, Mayor. Bob, we present this to you and the whole organization.
Thank you very much,
And
John.
you'll stay. We're going to do a photo. But while we're getting the photo set up, I'm going to take this thing off. Because they tell me I shouldn't wear this in the photographs. I don't always remember to do that when I'm up there.
Okay.
The Bush Library is a really great asset to this community. It makes us a distinctive city in the entire nation and one that we're really proud of. Bob, please extend our thanks and congratulations to everyone at the library and the foundation. You might know that the next ones are on the next page, and I got to turn the page. Well, actually, this is the presentation proclaiming the week of May 19th to May 25th, 2024 as the National Public Works Week. And I'd like to invite Emily Fisher and the members of the Public Works Department that are here to come forward to receive this proclamation. Most of the folks in Public Works are still working to clean up after that flood last week, I'm quite sure. Proclamation. Whereas Public Works services provided in our community are an integral part of our citizens' everyday lives, and whereas the support of and understanding and informed citizenry is vital to the efficient operation of public works systems and programs such as streets, public buildings, transportation, and solid waste collection. And whereas all health, safety, and comfort of this community greatly depends on these facilities and services, and whereas the quality and effectiveness of these facilities, as well as their planning, design, and construction, are vitally dependent upon the efforts and skill of public works officials, and whereas the efficiency of the qualified and dedicated personnel who staff public works departments is materially influenced by the people's attitude and understanding of the importance of the work that they perform. Now, therefore, I, John P. Nichols, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the City of College Station, Texas, do hereby proclaim the week of May 19th through 25th, 2024 as National Public Works Week, and call upon all citizens and civic organizations to acquaint themselves with the issues involved in providing our public works and to recognize the contributions which public works officials make every day to our health, safety, comfort, and quality of life. In testimony whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused to be affixed the seal of the City of College Station, Texas, this 23rd day of May, 2024. John P. Nichols, Mayor. Congratulations to the whole department. Our next presentation is a proclamation of May 2024 as the National Tennis Month, and I know I have a list of the people who will be coming forward, if I can find it. Up here, somewhere is that, but I don't have the list, so tennis group, please come forward. I know it's back there somewhere, but I failed to bring it forward, and it's buried somewhere on my desk.
Brandon Carlson, Christina Walters, Samuel Martinez, Abigail Martinez, Marquise Pixley, and Cindy Benson.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. I think I'll have you do that all the time. That saves me one step.
Hard pass.
All right. Okay, National Tennis Week, and we brought some of
We're
our
ready to
tennis
play
players and the rackets along. And
Absolutely.
you
See
know
you on
that,
court.
and you know that we're in the process of rebuilding some of our courts.
That's correct.
Cindy, nice to meet you
Nice
too.
to meet
You're
you.
representing the whole USTA.
Yes, I am.
Very good.
Yes. So anything I can do,
Well,
you
can
know how to
you,
get a hold of me.
right,
okay,
for
well,
sure.
maybe we can get some USTA funding, a
Uh,
grant to help
yes.
us expand our tennis facilities.
You can.
We
All right.
We're in the process of it.
You are, we're
We
applying
are.
for a grant?
We are.
Well, now
yes.
there's something new. Right?
Absolutely.
That's great. I'm glad you're here now, for
Absolutely.
sure.
We're good.
This is going to be a really special proclamation. All of them were special, but if you're going to bring grant money, that's even better.
We got you.
Okay, proclamation. Whereas on May 21st, 1881, the United States Tennis Association, originally known as the United States National Lawn Tennis Association, was founded in New York City, New York, to create rules and standards for the emerging game of lawn tennis. And whereas the USTA is the nonprofit national governing body for tennis in the United States with over 550,000 members from every corner of the country and leads the promotion and growth of the sport at every level of play, from beginners to professionals at the U.S. Open. And whereas the USTA proudly partners with local tennis programs such as the Brazos Valley Tennis Association to showcase the important health, social, and educational benefits of tennis and make the sport available to everyone regardless of age, environment, condition, or ability through its USTA adaptive grants. And whereas the latest research by the Physical Activity Council shows that more than 23.6 million Americans played tennis in 2022, an unprecedented 33% increase in participation over 2019, and the highest number of players since the Physical Activity Council study began in 2007. And whereas by increasing the accessibility of tennis for citizens of College Station of all ages and ability, the USTA has contributed to making our community happier and healthier. And whereas USTA has declared the month of May as National Tennis Month to encourage players, organizations, facilities, retailers, tennis manufacturers, and more to promote local programs and activities at parks and facilities to showcase tennis and spread the word about the sport and its benefits, and to help players and non-players alike find courts and play opportunities in their communities. Now therefore be it resolved that by virtue of the authority vested in me, John P. Nichols, Mayor of the City of College Station, Texas, do hereby proclaim May 2024 as National Tennis Month, and hereby urge the citizens of College Station to become aware of and support National Tennis Month. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the official seal of the City of College Station to be affixed this May 23rd, 2024. John P. Nichols, Mayor. Congratulations to all of you.
One more.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it. Yes.
Next proclamation is a proclamation celebrating the 50th anniversary of one of those iconic places in College Station, the Dixie Chickens, 50th anniversary. So we have a city manager. Can you read the name of the person that's coming forward?
It's Courtney Phillips.
Courtney Phillips, please come forward. I see she's got a whole team here. How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see
I
you
didn't
too.
realize you're going to be here too.
Yes, I'm here.
Well, hi there, yeah.
How are you?
Hi. Well, we not only have Courtney here, but we also have some of the owners of the
Yeah.
operation here. So I'm really happy about that. This is an iconic organization, an iconic location in College Station, definitely worthy of one of these special proclamations. So let me read this. Whereas the Dixie Chicken is a beloved establishment in the heart of College Station, Texas, is celebrating its 50th anniversary, and whereas since its inception in 1974, the Dixie Chicken has been a cornerstone of the College Station community, serving as a gathering place for locals, students, and visitors alike, and whereas the Dixie Chicken has been a hub of entertainment, offering delicious food, drinks, and an atmosphere of tradition that captures the spirit of Aggieland hospitality, and whereas over the past 5 decades, the Dixie Chicken has become an iconic symbol of College Station's culture and heritage, fostering friendships, memories, and a sense of belonging among patrons, old and new. And whereas the Dixie Chicken commitment to supporting local organizations, musicians, and businesses has contributed to the economic vitality and cultural richness of our community. And whereas on this momentous occasion, we recognize and celebrate the enduring legacy that the Dixie Chicken and the profound impact it has had on the city of College Station. Now therefore, I, John P. Nichols, Mayor of the City of College Station, do hereby proclaim June 15th, 2024, as Dixie Chicken Day in College Station. And maybe there'll be a Dixie Chicken special for College Station
Yeah,
that
maybe
day as
there might
well.
be, there
There
might
might be.
Yeah.
And a unique mixed drink or
Yeah, something
a different kind of hamburger.
Yeah, something fun.
And urge all residents to join in commemorating this milestone anniversary and to continue supporting the cherished establishment for generations to come. In witness whereof, I have set my hand and caused the seal of City College Station to be affixed this 23rd day of May 2024. John P. Nichols, Mayor, and it's a real pleasure for me to That concludes the proclamation portion of our agenda. The next item on our agenda is item 6, that's Hear Visitors. And I'm happy to announce, I don't know if I'm happy to announce, but I will announce that we do not have anybody signed up for Hear Visitors. And while we always appreciate people that do speak to us, I'm also pleased to know that everybody's happy and nobody's coming forward to speak tonight. I'm sure there are people out there that wish they were here because they would have soul billing tonight if they came. Anyway, we'll move on to item 7, which is the consent agenda. We don't have anybody signed up to speak on it, but we have 6 items, 7.1 through 7.6. Council members may wish to ask questions about any of those. Are there any that council members wish to ask about? Ms. Kuhnhan.
7.4, please.
7.4, Ms. Fisher. Presentation, discussion, possible action regarding an ordinance amending Chapter 38, Traffic Vehicles, Article 4, Traffic Schedules, Section 38-1002, Traffic Schedule 2, four-way stop intersections by adding the intersection of Church Avenue and First Street. And I notice there's another one on here, 7.3, that is Stasny as well. Ms.
Good
Fisher.
evening, Emily Fisher, Public Works.
Hi, Ms. Fisher. I was just wondering, can you give me a cost estimate? What does it cost to put a stop sign in?
It's about $125, between $100 and $150.
For the sign and the installation all
Yes.
in? Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That means that 2 signs at each intersection, so that's 4 of them we're putting in, right?
We're putting in 2. There's already 2 there.
I know, but 2 at that
Oh,
intersection.
I'm
and
sorry,
then you got
yes,
another 2.
per,
Okay, that's
yes,
not-
you're correct. I'm sorry.
Thank you, that's all. Is there any other questions? Seeing no other questions on the consent agenda, I have a motion from Ms. Harvell to approve the consent agenda. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Smith. Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We have approved the consent agenda. We will move now to the workshop agenda, items 8.1. The presentation, discussion, and possible action regarding an update on economic development and tourism strategies, activities, and events. Mr. Michael Ostrowski, our new Chief Development Officer, Brian Pisacek, and Jeremiah Cook are here as backup. So I'm sure they'll all have something to say and certainly can answer the questions for us. Thank you.
All
Proceed.
right. Good evening, Mayor, City Council, Michael Ostrowski, Chief Development Officer. Before I start, I do want to thank all of our economic development and tourism staff who are here this evening. They play a large role in why we are successful in our economic development and tourism efforts for the city, so I do want to thank them. This evening, our team will be presenting on an update to our economic development and tourism efforts. Shortly, I'm going to turn it over to Brian Postashik, our Assistant Director for Economic Development and Tourism, and Jeremiah Cook, who's our Tourism Manager, to speak to their respective areas. But before I do, I did want to highlight some of our areas of focus as a department before I turn it over to them. So historically, our focus has been primarily in these 4 areas, really trying to support primary job growth within the community, supporting retail development and redevelopment-related activities, tourism activities, either through sports, tournaments, conventions, events and attractions, and leisure activities, and then also sustaining kind of that high quality of life as an organization and as a city. As we move forward, there's some additional areas of focus that a lot of our efforts and programs and activities that we are going to do are going to tie back to. The first being building and strengthening partnerships with our stakeholders. We need to collaborate with our private sector, our businesses, our other organizations, our other entities to leverage those resources and expertise. Economic development is not an individual effort. It's not an individual department effort. It really is a team effort that we need to continue to push for. Also, identification of target industry sectors. We need to do a good job of identifying what industry sectors that we want to target and go after specifically. We have limited resources, whether it's land, financial, time, and we need to make sure that we're targeting the industries that have the best support for us moving forward as a community. Third, business retention and expansion activities. Most of our growth and most economic development growth comes from your existing businesses. So we need to continue to build those relationships with those, working with them, finding out what impediments are preventing them from growing and what we can do to help as an organization. Entrepreneurship and innovation. We need to really foster an environment that helps support that. We have a number of individuals within this community who have the capability of starting businesses. We have a fantastic institution across the street who produces tons of graduates. So we need to continue to foster that environment to allow those businesses to continue to grow and prosper. Redevelopment and fiscal sustainability. As land, as I mentioned, finite, we need to make sure that how we develop as a community is fiscally responsible. We've seen examples of this, a lot of redevelopment in the Northgate area, as well as the most recent redevelopment small area plan that we did on Texas University Drive. Those are going to continue to be extremely important as we move forward with economic development activities. Marketing and promotion, our tourism efforts. We need to continue to actively market our city's assets and strengths and opportunities to attract investment, additional tourists to our community, as well as skilled workers. And then finally, quality of life. I mean, enhancing the city's quality of life through various different mechanisms, whether it's our city parks, our schools, our entertainment options, as well as affordable housing to continue to attract workers to our community are going to be extremely important. And those are the areas that as we continue to move forward with projects, we're going to continue to focus and tie a lot of our initiatives back to these 7 things. So I'm going to turn it over to Brian Postashik real quick here.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So our population is just over 128,000, and the city has historically experienced a stable 2 to 3% annual growth. In 2023, the College Station Bryan MSA was on number 6 on the list of U-Haul's top growth cities. The steady rise in population leads to a continued need for diverse housing, employment opportunities, and quality of life amenities. And with a median age of 23 years, a majority of our population falls within prime working years of 20 to 44. Just like our population, our economy continues to grow. For the last 5 years, we've experienced year-to-year growth in construction value, including a sizable jump in commercial value last fiscal year. There were about 6,500 permits that year, including 495 new residential permits and 40 new commercial permits. The other designation includes demolitions, signs, pools, and other minor structures, remodels, renovations, re-roofs. The key factor is that all of these estimated values will likely turn into new taxable assessed value in future years. And the high percentage of other permits illustrates the continued reinvestment from the private sector as well. Growth in the local economy is also evidenced by increases in taxable valuation, now over $14 billion, which is almost 130% increase since 2013. Total taxable values before the freeze adjustment were as I mentioned, were $14 billion. Of that, the new value that was added was about $300 million, or about 2.3%. This slide shows the property value per acre. I'm sure you're familiar with this in our previous planning development staff efforts. It is eminently clear that density accentuates that figure with our high watermark in the Northgate area. Also note the values along the University in Texas corridor, as well as the Baylor Scott and White Hospital. This map demonstrates that from an economic development standpoint, student housing serves as a significant driver of property tax revenue. Over the last decade plus, College Station has experienced increasing diversity in employment, with private sector jobs exceeding those from the public sector. However, we still rely heavily on the presence of Texas A&M and other public entities. Since the pandemic, the number of employed in our local labor force has increased at a rate of over 5% annually. And as a hospitality hub, employment numbers are steadfast in both accommodation and food services, as well as retail trade. The provision of retail goods and services has evolved, especially since the pandemic, with the inclusion of new store models and formats, delivery options, customer personalization, and AI. Emerging sectors include professional and technical services and healthcare. In the last 5 years, our largest industry growth on a percentage basis has come from the healthcare arena. In the coming years, we anticipate continued expansion in these fields as we pursue companies with a focus on innovation and technology. Lastly, our economic recovery post-pandemic is notable. Over the last 3 years, sales tax has exceeded 35% in growth. This slide highlights recent activity related to strategic investments in real estate. Recent transactions in the College Station Business Center total $4.8 million. Additionally, another 11 plus acres is under contract to be sold to Farah Diagnostics and Biologicals, a local company operating out of the Aggieland Business Park. This property would provide an opportunity to cement their headquarters in College Station and also allow for additional growth. Turning to Midtown Business Park, we recently executed a brokerage services contract on the 28 acres of commercial development and remain active in our pursuit of industry prospects for the remainder of the business park. Now, there are downstream effects to these strategic real estate investments. and the disposition of such. Not only can the city utilize the revenues to further strategic goals, but these investments also serve to prepare surrounding properties for development, either through the provision of infrastructure or also to serve as a catalyst to incent additional development. So a little more on Midtown Business Park. Midtown Business Park offers 200 acres of business park property that's zoned light industrial. There's access to 6. It's just a few miles down the road from Texas A&M. It's also near residential and retail amenities that can support future development. So it's a really interesting piece of property and not, I would say, a traditional business park because of everything else that surrounds it, right? So we have a really unique opportunity to execute that in a way that is, again, intentional and in line with our industry sectors that we're trying to target. Subdistrict B is highlighted on there. That is the corporate office. Utilities are in place. Those are shovel-ready sites. Obviously, nearest to the screen or at the bottom is Subdistrict A, which is the commercial portion. You can see Costco and then the future 28 acres that are adjacent to that. It also includes Subdistrict C, which is a maker space that's just north of where future corporate parkway will run. And then lastly, Subdistricts D and E, which are just additional light industrial uses that are just beyond Subdistrict B, a little further back from Midtown Drive. Our industry recruitment strategy involves a focused effort to attract and retrain targeted industries, including biotechnology, applied research and development, professional services, and technology. Work with Brazos Valley EDC, City of Bryan, Brazos County, and Texas A&M, not only the university, but also the university system, as well as the state agencies that are tied to them. Lastly, again, to highlight the kind of unique particular location of Midtown Business Park is obviously you have some, it's adjacent to Texas Independence Park, as well as Midtown City Center, which is an urban mixed-use complement to the city-owned business park property that's to the south. Retail development is important because beyond contributing to a strong quality of life, it also functions as an amenity to drive residential development and encourage industry and corporate recruitment. So our retail recruitment strategy is really developed through our partnership with the Retail Coach, which is our retail consultant that we work with, providing the high-level recruitment strategy and services, including identifying a retail trade area, lots of data and reporting, prospect identification and recruitment, developing those broker and developer contacts, as well as regular meetings and collaborative recruitment at trade show events. We have a focus on both new development, in particular to the south, and then also those backfill and infill spaces that are, I would say, the sort of older parts of town, the areas that are more centrally located, adjacent to campus, and are maybe going through some modifications, some changing in nature, also maybe second or third gen space that becomes available. The retailers that we target, some want a brand new build, and others want to find an adequate space to backfill. So it's our obligation and opportunity to work with our retail consultant to try to find a suitable site. Our target prospects, the way in which we engage and the strategy that we employ really align with 3 primary areas. They're reflected in our KPI that's reported as well from a retail perspective. We really focus on 3 main areas: retail, entertainment, a destination or specialty retailer. So a destination retailer, kind of a preeminent example is a Costco. A specialty retailer could be high-end apparel or something that's a little more exclusive. Obviously, you're talking about something that the product is a little bit different, and also the space needs would be different as well. And then lastly, a restaurant that's not presently located in Brazos County. We also participate in business retention and expansion activities, otherwise known as BRE. Those can include visits and other engagements, but we also have the Visitors Pass program that we work with to try to connect visitors to local businesses. We offer Business Over Breakfast. That's the local business stakeholder event. And also the Hospitality Insider, which is that monthly newsletter that goes out to over 160 business contacts that highlight upcoming events so they can prepare adequately for hopefully the crowds of visitors that are coming in. And lastly, Chamber BBEDC events included as well. And a couple notes on those photos as well. At the top right is Tower Point, which has added 40,000 square feet of commercial retail, totaling $7.5 million in value. A lot of that is on the ground. Obviously, I'm dating myself a little bit with that photo because that's now in operation with several different retail tenants in those areas that are highlighted in blue. Lastly, the bottom right shows the intersection of University Drive and Texas Avenue. Strategic redevelopment is a critical economic development strategy, and Council's adoption of the Northeast Gateway redevelopment plan has laid an important foundation for both vertical and horizontal mixed-use redevelopment with increases in housing options, multimodal transportation, and denser commercial development. This corridor, with its proximity to A&M and Century Square, provides the opportunity to further develop a diverse ecosystem with greater density, increased tax revenues, and amenities for residents and visitors. And with that, I will turn it over to Jeremiah Cook.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk a little bit more about what we've been up to in the tourism department over the last year, everything that's been going on in our world. Thanks also to our team, as Michael said, that's here, as well as our Tourism Advisory Committee that meets every other month and talks about ways that we can continue to grow and diversify our local economy through tourism. Over in the tourism division, we really have three verticals that we work on, and that's the three logos that you see on the screen: the Visit, Compete, and Meet. Visit is really our overall brand, but the Visit brand focuses on leisure travelers. We run ads to people that are outside a 2 to 4, or within a 2 to 4 hour radius, and we encourage any kind of leisure festivals, leisure music, anything that's going to drive a leisure traveler here to town. Last year, we had the opportunity to go to IPW, which is International Press Week, and on that, we met with people from all over the world that were interested in creating new itineraries for people from their countries to travel around the world. From that, we were actually included on a fam trip of 15 people that plan trips for Swiss travelers. And they got the opportunity to come here, see all that College Station has to offer, and will be included in the itinerary that they pass out to locals back in their home country. So really excited to continue to grow that market. On the Meet side, that is our meetings and conventions. That is where we're going after that midweek business that we talk so much about. We are working with our meeting space hotels. We're working with the Expo, with Texas A&M, working with a variety of venues across the city to ensure that business is coming here on a Sunday through Thursday basis and meeting in College Station. Just a few weeks back, we actually hosted 9 meeting planners from across the region. And from that, just 3 weeks ago, we've already received 5 business leads from that. So we know that when people come to College Station, they realize everything that's going on here, and they want to bring their attendees. They want to be a part of it. The last thing that I'll spotlight is the Compete side, which is our sports brand for tourism in College Station. We work with the Parks and Recreation Department on this, as well as working with Texas A&M. This is primarily weekend business. Some of the business that we bring is weekday, but this is generally more youth-focused for the weekends. And one of the great examples of this that's coming up this summer is the USA Track and Field event, which is 9,000 athletes over 9 days. It will be a weekday event in July, and the goal is that we focus a lot on summer. We focus a lot on June events. We focus a lot on July events, because we understand that when students leave town, we need someone else to come in and help fill our restaurants, help fill our retail. So we were really excited to get this national championship event to come here towards the end of July. A few indicators of the market and the work that our team's been up to work to increase, to grow, and diversify the local economy. So fiscal year 23, hotel occupancy increased 2% over fiscal year 22. So any increase, obviously, is a good increase, but what we're looking for is to continue to grow that. We know that we had a big bounce back from COVID here in Texas, and we saw that in our market locally. And so the challenge is now to continue to grow, to continue to increase that occupancy. This past month, actually, April was one of the best year-over-year growths that we've seen. Our occupancy went up 11% over April of 23 in the last month. Our overall hotel revenue went up 15%, April 24 to April of 23. So we were really proud of that. It requires a lot of work from a lot of different hotel partners, retail partners, restaurant partners, and from our team to ensure that we can have big months to help us when maybe things are a little bit slower. Hot revenue overall increased 13.7% in FY23 from FY22. And then, as we look down a little bit further to the statistics from the state of Texas, we see that in 2023 there was $169.4 million in industry earnings from visitors to College Station. So that's people that live in this area that are making their money that they take home off of visitors coming to town. We also saw that there was a direct travel spend estimated of being $433.1 million in 2023 here in College Station. To put that into a little bit of perspective, that is an increase of 1.2% over the direct travel spend that we saw in calendar year 2022. And then the other two on that side of the slide is we were super excited last week to be named to the top 10 growing summer destinations by TripAdvisor. We were second on that list, only behind Yosemite National Park. So we were super excited on a national level to be named in that top 10 because of the hard work that a lot of people have been putting in to create a great summer here in College Station. And then lastly, we were super excited about this, first in statewide percent growth in leisure and hospitality jobs. So from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, year over year, we grew more than any other city, any other MSA in Texas in leisure and hospitality jobs. Year over year, we grew 6%, and since 2019, we are up 18%. So when we look at 2019 as a mark before COVID, our leisure and hospitality jobs are up 18%. We're super proud of that because that requires not just a lot of tourism partners, but also a lot of work with the Economic Development Division of our department as well to continue to drive that growth. A few projects that we're working on right now. This is just a few screenshots of things that are currently going on. On the right side is the new visitor guide, which we are super excited to be rolling out this summer. We are in the last editing phases of that, and it will be rolled out to all local places that engage with visitors this summer. We were really intentional when we started talking about this to ensure that this wasn't going to be just a book of ads. That's not what we wanted. We wanted to represent our community in a really cool way. And so we're excited to bring this product forward that will actually be a resource to spotlight really wonderful places to visit in our community and that visitors can use to get around. The other thing that we're working on right now is our website. Our website was created when we became a division back in 2020, and so it was in need of a major upgrade. And so we've been working on that for the last few months with our new vendor that we started working with in November, and super excited to have that website come online in July as well. The last thing on here is the activations within the 1207 event space. We've now been in the space for over a year, and we're excited to see people using that space. We were running the numbers earlier, and in Q1 and Q2, we had 26 event days in that space. And so obviously we look to continue to grow that, but we're excited to see both visitors and residents alike using that space. And I know that we've already got 13 event days booked for Q3 and Q4. So the bookings are already rolling in, and we're excited to have that resource on our side here for Visit Team. The last thing that I'll touch on is how to get involved. A lot of times people, they know that tourists are coming to town, but they're not quite sure what they can do to help. And the real answer is that we need volunteers. We need volunteers to help us in a myriad of things. We need volunteers to help us at conventions doing welcome tables. We need volunteers to help us with the visitor center. We need people to come out and hand out waters at sports tournaments. Over and over and over again, we hear that visitors are looking for authentic experiences. They're not looking for you to say, these are 3 things that if you're a visitor, you're supposed to do. They want to know what a local lives like. And the opportunity for locals to engage with them, tell them what restaurants to go to, what places to shop at, where their favorite eatery is that maybe isn't on the front page of a Google ad. Those are the types of things that we want to encourage, and we want to allow people to do that. The last thing I'll say on this is that this summer we have track and field, as I mentioned. The way that we get events like that is by having volunteers. That event requires 120 to 150 volunteers per day for 9 days straight. And it's during a time where our normal volunteer base leaves. And so as many people as we can have to come out and help us in that endeavor, it helps us to continue to grow the economy, but also to give people an opportunity to engage with people from all over the country as they're here to celebrate those track and field wins and those track and field championships. With that, I'll turn it over to Michael.
All right, thank you, Brian and Jeremiah. I just want to kind of wrap it up here. Looking forward in some of the projects and initiatives that we're going to be moving forward with over the next few months here into next fiscal year. One is a fiscal impact analysis, and this was started in our Planning and Development Services Department. It was an SLA for this past fiscal year. This fiscal impact analysis will give us a better understanding of how land use decisions impact us financially. So, oftentimes, we see a rezoning that goes from multifamily down to general suburban. We don't have a lot of opposition to that because it's typically just a single-family property. However, there can be a huge impact to us financially as we move forward in the future in terms of density and the availability of land. So this tool will be really important as we move forward in kind of identifying, what the impacts of those decisions will be. Second, starting an entrepreneurial program. As I mentioned, one of those 7 things that we really want to focus on is growing our entrepreneur base in College Station. So we're going to be looking forward to creating a program, working with a group out of Houston, starting off first digitally, creating a digital environment for College Station for entrepreneurs to get resources, to make connections, look at financial opportunities. And then as we continue to grow that base, hopefully then allowing us to get a physical location in College Station for a business incubator. Third is continuing to build up our business retention and expansion program. This will likely be a partnership with numerous people, but including Brazos Valley Economic Development Corporation, getting in with businesses, talking about what their needs are, what they like about College Station, how we can help. But really, as I mentioned, one of the first things was building those relationships and having an individual that you can contact or that individual knows who to contact at the city if they've got a concern relating to their business. Fourth, Christmas in College Station. We're going to continue to try to build upon that. We met with our advisory group yesterday to start talking through some of the things there. That will be a separate workshop that will be in front of council in the next few months and some of the activities that we have planned for that. But that will be a big undertaking as we move forward through the remainder part of this year. And then the last two kind of deal with planning efforts, and coming from Planning and Development Services, I'm really keen on planning. So those two efforts are going to be extremely important, especially from a tourism strategic plan. So when we brought tourism in-house, we never had a strategic plan for them when we brought them in-house, and they were really not included as part of the Economic Development Master Plan that was done in 2020 because it was so late in the process. But it's really important as we start moving forward to identify, which areas and on a tourism perspective, what types of conferences we want to go after, what type of sporting events do we want to go after, where are our competitive advantages that ranks us upon the top. And the same thing with the Economic Development Master Plan. What are the things that we want to be specifically focusing on as we move forward in terms of business and industry recruitment. So tourism strategic plan will likely move forward the remainder of this year. We're about to release the RFP there, and then we're planning the Economic Development Master Plan as a fiscal year 25 initiative. So that concludes our presentation. Be happy to answer any questions from council.
Thank you, Mr. Ostrowski. I'm sure there'll be lots of questions, and Councilman, am I right? Ms. Harvell has the first opportunity, and then we'll go that direction and come back to the other end.
Brian, I may have missed it. When you were talking about the type of business that you were looking at on, bringing into College Station, the retail, entertainment, and everything else, what are we doing on a commercial level? Like, I know we've already got a Costco, but something on those levels. What are we doing on that type of a commercial level, not just retail and high-end fashion and things like that?
Yeah, so to reiterate our strategy, it's really 3-pronged from a retail perspective. It's family entertainment, it's destination or specialty retailers. So from a destination standpoint, that was the Costco example that I used, and then a restaurant that's not presently in Brazos County. So it's all about working through our consultant and trying to identify a particular retailer, and then is the site available here? We have a running Rolodex of sites and things that we keep up with. Obviously, we maintain very close relationships with the local brokers to try to get a good understanding of ultimately what these retailers are looking for. Because if we're targeting a large destination retailer, we have to provide the adequate space for them. I mean, when we have meetings, that's the very first thing they want to know. I mean, beyond the kind of traditional things, when you're talking population, household, number of households, household income, all those things are basically just to get you in the door. But then the very next question they offer to you is then, like, is there an adequate site? So again, that's our opportunity there to try to have that conversation. Obviously, there are a handful of tracks that are left along that Highway 6 corridor that I think would invite kind of primary anchor retail, kind of that power center that you see, where maybe you've got some pads in the front with a variety of uses, maybe a couple of junior anchors or larger anchors with some ancillary uses as well. It's really about trying to bridge that gap and either supporting private development or obviously taking a leading role with the 28 acres that we own to try to present that best foot forward to allow the opportunity for those retailers to have a site and to not only want to come here, but have the ability to do so.
Okay, I was referring, like to the commercial, so like the manufacturing, the warehouses,
Okay.
that different type of corporate structure, not just all the fancy retail. So I was just wondering about that.
Yeah, I would say the question actually is I can answer in a similar way. It's the same concept from an industry perspective. You've got to have the adequate space and infrastructure and resources supporting it. Step one is understanding what our target market is, and again, I talked professional, technical services, biotechnology, applied research and development. When you've got an opportunity like Midtown Business Park, you want to be really strategic in how you carve that up and what you can do. And I think the 200 acres gives you a unique opportunity. Now, the plan that I highlighted was some planning that was done in 2017 that basically broke it out into those 5 different sub-districts where you've got a commercial piece, you've got a corporate piece, you've got light industrial. It's zoned light industrial, but ultimately we have a blank canvas to work with. We've obviously invested a lot over the last 20 years from an infrastructure standpoint to activate the sub-district B that backs up to Midtown Drive, because you've got the road, you've got the other utilities in place. So that is what we are pitching. Either whether we're generating leads on our own or through BVEDC. Leads can come from any number of sources, but say there's a lead that's through the governor's office that BVEDC receives and then pushes it out to its partners, and then we have the opportunity to weigh in and say, is this a fit for Midtown or is it not? And if it's not, then is there a private site available? Maybe that's Providence Park, maybe that's property in the bio corridor. We try to bridge that gap and find that right opportunity. So hopefully that answers a little bit more of your question.
That's a good question on the commercial side particularly. Mr. Wright, Mr. Smith.
A question about where does economic development on like redeveloping or in creating interest in the mall? I mean, what effort is going into that?
Yeah, so obviously we're continuing to pursue the esports facility with Texas A&M. I think it provides a unique catalyzing opportunity for that site. Obviously, ultimately the suite of options is there's a variety, right, when it comes to just disposition of the property versus how active you'd want to be in that. Again, that was identified in 2019 as a critical corridor and redevelopment opportunity. Again, you've got adjacency to Wolfpan Creek. You've got the Sears Service Center that's there as well that we're continuing to try to identify a proper user for that would complement, I think, not only what we're trying to do in the southern portion of Post Oak Mall, but then also the adjacent park uses. So I would say that conversation is ongoing, and from a redevelopment perspective, I can't think of a more important site from a city perspective than Post Oak Mall because of its size and because of its revenue potential, both in property tax and in sales tax.
Ms. Kuna, any questions?
A few.
Please.
And Brian, if you don't mind me going in a different order, Jeremiah, if I could I could start with you. Your volunteer program is fantastic. So I'm on Shannon's email list, so I get her emails periodically, and they're just outstanding. What I would love to see is you outreach to our seniors, because I've volunteered under Shannon, and it's fantastic. And it's just like you say, people just want to talk to you and ask you where your favorite place to eat are. There's many opportunities where you're just in air conditioning and you're just visiting with visitors. And so May 28th, we have a neighborhood seminar supper. I was wondering if you could do like a 30-second commercial at the beginning of that. And then June 12th, we have the Exploring History Luncheons. Again, if you could do like a 30-second commercial, maybe at the beginning with your QR code, and maybe also an email for people that aren't comfortable with QR codes. But just to tap into that resource, I think we have an amazing collection of seniors that have lived here for a very long time and know this community really well, and could really buoy up some of our volunteer corps that Shannon's trying to develop. But props to you for focusing on that volunteer, and I appreciated that there was a slide in there. And certainly I'm not directing staff, so if it's too much for you to do those commercials.
No,
But it
thank
was
you.
it was just an idea, to help drum up that support as you head into July. Let's see, and then I think the rest of them are for Brian. So if I could switch back to Brian. Or Michael, yeah. Okay, so I love what you've said. It's felt general to me. Like, can you give me specifically companies that you have been pivotal in shepherding to our community over the past year? Like, where are the new guys that have come in that you like, we were pivotal in getting this company here? Do we have any of those in the past year?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that, the work that we do with the retail coach, again, they're the tip of the spear from a recruitment strategy. Honestly, we help facilitate and try to build those bridges, but I would ultimately give credit to not only the retailers themselves for choosing College Station, but our broker developer network is really strong here, and they really do an incredible job. The leading effort that our consultant operates as sort of linking those conversations, we certainly give them the latitude to have certain conversations and say like, hey, these are the available sites, that sort of thing. So it's incumbent on us to keep a really good read on those things. But I mean, there are conversations that we've had at retail conferences in the past. Part of it is just staying up to date. And we recently had a conversation with the folks over at Century Square to really understand phase 2 and their future development and where we can maybe slot in and see what sort of opportunity we can, what they're looking for, maybe from a particular user, and maybe that's on our hot list of targets that we're looking at. We'd had conversations in the past with certain retailers that often take years in the making. The reality of these things is like, I think Costco is probably the ultimate example of that, of conversations of certainly economic development staffs past that really sold them on this community, and also did it in a really strategic way to certainly not give away the farm from an incentive standpoint, but then also create the opportunity through that, through the infrastructure participation to basically open up the 28 acres too. Because that's one of the things that we can then pitch as we're working with, a potential development partner, is to say that, detention is taken care of, right? And that was a partnership that we had with Costco where they did what they needed to, and we had the ability to oversize, and now it opens up the remainder of the site. So it's one less thing they have to do. That I think is a really critical piece of the strategy, and that we are priming the pump the best way we can. And again, that's not just our staff, but that's everyone else in a collective effort across the city.
Okay, so what residents ask me is they want to know when they're getting a Trader Joe's, a Whole Foods, and a Pluckers. Do you have any?
I got good news for you.
Okay, please.
So the Pluckers is under construction.
Okay, and that will have pickleball
It will. Yeah.
courts.
It
It'll
will.
have pickleball courts
That's right. So that's over in the University Town Center.
on a private initiative, which
That's
would
right.
be fantastic. Okay? What can you tell us about Trader Joe's and Whole Foods?
They're on our list. So we are pursuing and certainly looking at all avenues. And I mean, I think what we want to do is try to get a better sense of how much space do they need, where do they want to be? Do they want to be next to campus or do they not? Do they want to be in South College Station? And
Wherever
again,
they want to be, we've got shoppers.
yeah, that's right, we do. We certainly do. And what's great is that, Costco showed that, half the folks that are shopping at Costco are not from the Bryan-College Station area. So that's what we want, right, is we want folks from the outside to come here and certainly spend their money here and hopefully hang out for a little bit too, maybe get a meal at one of the restaurants in the area or anything else.
I feel like if we've got the REI, we've got to be getting into the demo of the Whole Foods people,
Yeah, I was
right?
going to say,
Yeah.
the REI is going to open those doors
Yeah.
up for all that.
Can you tell me when the next Business Over Breakfast is? Do you know when the next one's coming up?
We're anticipating, I think we've tentatively scheduled, not just internally, I think the plan, the 3 months out would have been in June, but we're still working on kind of finalizing that date. So, and certainly working on, we'll push more out about that, not only just with the date, but also with a kind of a plan of attack of what's going to be discussed and certainly be intentional in our invites and try to have a conversation that's conducive to the particular topic at hand.
Okay, thank you so much.
Ms. Harvell wanted to follow up.
Well, yeah, just talking about Trader Joe's and Whole Foods and even Papacitos, from what I understand, y'all have been working for years to get them interested in our community. And basically what they've told y'all is we're not the market for them at this point in time. So we're kind of like on their radar, but there's other areas that are much more profitable to them. So they don't see us as a prime destination to set up a business. I just wanted you to know, y'all been trying for years to
We
to
have,
get
and it's
them
fair
here.
to say we're an emerging or secondary market, and that's okay too, but that's part of the pitch too. And part of the way we have to explain it is when you just look at straight numbers, like our household income does not look very good, right, from an economic development standpoint, because you've got such a preponderance of students that have no income, perhaps. But there's obviously a lot of disposable income that's actually untapped. So it's trying to explain that story. And really, we want the retailers to understand that you're working in partnership with the city. Not only are you going to be successful, but we're going to support you and facilitate, future development as you go. But yeah, those two are certainly on our list, and we try to stay as much in contact as we can with the representatives of Papa's, understanding they still own the former Baylor Scott & White site, and certainly seeing what we can do there.
Thank you. Ms. Yancey, and then Mr. Maloney after that.
Thank you, Mayor Nichols. Mr. Ostrowski, you and your team, Jeremiah, Brian, excellent presentation. I think I have a couple of questions for all three of you. Mr. Ostrowski, under your entrepreneurship and innovation bullet point and under your entrepreneurship program bullet point, I want to ask you some questions around dark fiber real quick. It used to be that connectivity, gigabit speeds were a core component in the advertising and promotion of innovation districts, business incubation, entrepreneurship. And you can still, when I do research, I still see that in other cities. I know we have a dark fiber network that I'm not altogether confident that we completely utilize. And I guess with that as background, are we utilizing that fully, or has this now become a commoditized technology where virtually every community has the same speeds and we're one of those, and it's not something we have to talk about because we have?
Yeah, I think it depends on kind of where you're going. So if you're going after an entrepreneur, kind of an incubator location, I think we have the available speeds from a commercial standpoint. So we've got a number of providers in the area that can help service that. When you start getting into the massive speeds like data centers, that's when you're talking about utilizing some of the other resources that we may have. But from an entrepreneurial standpoint, from general business standpoint, the market is pretty well covered within College Station, a large part due to Texas A&M and the student network that we have here.
Okay. Thank you very much. And for Brian, business park opportunities, it kind of feels like all of our chips are, and maybe more chips than I would be comfortable with, are all in one basket. Is part of your strategic analysis and our back and forth with consultants and your own internal research, are we looking at and going to incorporate in that strategic plan what comes next from a business park standpoint? I mean, what happens if you close the Midtown tomorrow? We're kind of out of inventory, right? I mean, generally speaking.
Yeah, no, it's the very salient point, and one that I think not only our staff would have internally, but certainly with council as a whole, of kind of strategic direction and those future opportunities. I think that absolutely plays into it. And it's nice to have that conversation with Midtown Business Park right now, understanding that within the last few years, we managed to sell the remaining parcels of College Station Business Center. So it's a good position to be in, right? That we're moving property and we're finding, I think, really great results of property that we held for 20 some odd years in the College Station Business Center. So the hope with Midtown is varied in its intent. And what I mean by that is to say, okay, right now we're marketing Subdistrict B that's roughly about 49 acres. There may be a user that comes in there and wants to do 20 acres. Well, that's fine, and we can consider that, and you can kind of work piecemeal, and you can certainly participate in an infrastructure way to kind of open up the rest of it from a detention standpoint or otherwise. Or there could be this opportunity where there's a corporate campus where then there's a company that wants to grow and expand or essentially wants to preserve their ability to do so in the future, and they want to take the full 200 acres. That would also be fine with me. I think that would be incredible, right? But so it depends on, like, does your strategy evolve? It's really just kind of process dependent, and particularly on what, not only the industry that you're going after, but again, where all of those opportunities line up. And I think you're absolutely right, and it's going to play a major component in the future master planning effort is to understand, okay, we've got Midtown, but then what? Because you do want to provide those opportunities. Just as we're going through land use changes and zoning opportunities for diverse housing uses and trying to figure out the retail focus, industry has to play a role in this city moving forward, and it's really about finding the best way to do that.
So you would anticipate that staff will continue to work on this, and we'll hear more about this later?
Yeah, again, it's certainly a consideration and something that's going to play a major factor in the plan that we hope to work on in the next fiscal year.
And then a one-off question, because you broached the topic in your piece. You said there were 495 single-family permits that were issued. What was that time period? Was that calendar year 2023?
That was fiscal year 2023.
Do you know where we're at through 5 months of calendar year 24?
I do not off the top of my head, but I bet we can dig that out pretty quickly. Okay.
Yeah, so what we've seen for this year, we've actually seen an increase in single-family. On average, we see about 600 single-family permits. Over the last 10 years, on average, we see about 600 single-family permits a year and about 600 units of multifamily each year.
Wow.
So about 1,200 units of new residential coming into the community.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ostrowski. And Mr. Cook, under your heading in the presentation of Meet College Station, you met with event planners, is that correct?
That's right.
What kind of questions do they ask you when they're inquiring about our community?
Yeah, I think that, just like in economic development, your foot in the door is what do you have, right? Do you have the hotels that we're looking for, the brands that we're looking for, the infrastructure to get people in and out? Do you have flights? Are you in a good location? And those are kind of just the check boxes that they need to check off before they're willing to have a conversation about the things that we love to talk about, which is the attendee experience and the reason that your conference is going to grow here in town.
And you're compelled to be accurate with them, of course, in answering those questions. What do you tell them relative to how big of a conference we're able to, at the core event space, not the outlying hotel infrastructure, but at the event space? What do you tell them? What can we accommodate?
Yeah, generally when we talk about those things, we talk about how well we do at 300 to 400 person hotel or conferences. That's really that's kind of a bread and butter for our community at this time. When you look at the Hilton, you've got 32,000 square feet, somewhere around 300 rooms. When you look at the Texas A&M Hotel, you've got 35,000 square feet of meeting space with around 300 rooms as well. And so when you're talking about conference size, 300 to 400 is really going to fit well, maybe with one extra overflow hotel.
Do you ever get any of them come back with, hey man, I've got a 7,000 attendee convention that I put on, not a conference, but a convention, and you guys with your inventory, we can't come to College Station, Texas. You ever get that?
For sure. When we're talking, so our sales team here is it's great. So we got 6 people in sales, and each one of them is making around 50 prospecting calls every month. So when you net that out over a year, we're talking to thousands of planners a year and trying to find what's the ones that fit really well here. And so in those conversations at this point, obviously, we don't have a ton to offer them in this situation.
Do you, as a tourism professional, ever feel a pang of regret that we don't have something that can accommodate some of these larger shows?
I think that I don't know if I'm fully qualified to answer that, but I would say that what we have, we've seen this market grow extensively since 2013. Since we joined the SEC, we saw all the addition of the hotels, and we've seen that the meeting space has grown with that. And so we've seen the addition of the Embassy Suites, the addition of the George and Calvary, the addition of the Texas A&M Hotel. And so I think that those are the things that that we're often out there pitching.
Setting conferences aside and focusing just on conventions, my research indicates that about 10,000 attendees is right in the center of the mid-market of a regional or even national convention. My research also indicates that we're pretty well much tapped out at around 2,000, that we can't accommodate any more than that. Do I have those numbers wrong?
I can't speak to the mid-market answer because my knowledge of it is that you've got these 100,000 conferences that are few and far between, and then you've got some scaled down from there. But I definitely would speak to the 2,000 if using all of our spaces at Texas A&M, they're at the MSC, Kyle Field, those kind of things, Reed Arena. That is going to probably be the upper end of what we can host at this point.
And are you personally aware of any large conferences or micro conventions, which is our capacity basically as a micro convention, whereby we're having to bust it up among multiple facilities instead of everyone being in one exhibition hall?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. And then very last question. Thank you, Mayor Nichols, for the accommodation. You indicated that employment growth in our leisure hospitality area was, that was your portion of the presentation, was it not? That it was growing. We were number what in?
We're number 1. Our MSA had the most growth of any MSA in the state.
And what does that tell you from, basically we're firing on all 8 cylinders with what we've got.
For sure.
And we're having to turn away some larger events. Thank you very much. Excellent presentation. Thank you, Mayor Nichols.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Maloney?
Thank you. Hi, Jeremiah. Sounds like we have room for a convention center in College Station, Texas. I'm just taking a guess at that. Right off the bat, before this has nothing to do with you right now, Jeremiah, but stay there, buddy, because I just wanted to make a mention that Brian said that we have the 200 acres in the Midtown Park. Now, I was on the council that bought that land way back when, because back then we knew that we needed it. And I think, to Bob's point, is that we need to be looking at more space down the line. But if I had my druthers, I would turn away someone that wants to use all 200 acres. Because I don't want another Westinghouse. When you pull out, I got 50 acres that stays empty for 20 years. So I'd rather have a whole bunch of small, really tight businesses that can grow rather than one. That has nothing to do with you, Jeremiah. I wanted to talk about being number 2 on what is that again? Because I know on the news it was all about College Station is number 2 on something or other. Can you explain me what that is and why?
Yeah, so it's growing summer destinations. And so what it was is it was people looking to come to a summer destination year over year. And so when you think about what's coming this summer here, more people are searching for coming to College Station this summer than have ever searched for it before. You think about the soccer match coming up. You think about the George Strait event. Think about the track and field event in July. These are all things that usually June and July, we know we've got 7-on-7, but aside from that, it's quieter. But this summer, there's a lot of drive, and it's coming not just from a small population of people that know I call this hotel and that's where I stay. It's coming from a different kind of visitor than we've ever seen before, and that's why those TripAdvisor numbers are up.
That's very exciting. To me, it's very exciting, and especially now it's an opportunity for us to get out the word that we've got about 2,000 acres of parkland. There are a lot of, and we have 100-degree weather. We can't do anything about that. But we also have a lot of inside venues that people can go to, and I hope that we have a list of them. I'm sure with your group saying, here, you can go play golf over here or play indoor stuff, paintball, whatever, bowling, whatever they do. So I'm excited about that. And I also think the fact is that we're marketing ourselves for what we are. We are a hospitality community. 1 million people a year minimum come into our community, and we need to be showing them that this is a great place to visit, leave your money and go home. In terms of bringing employers to our area, one of the things that I think that we don't do a very good job selling on is that our median age is 22 years and 9 months. That's the median age. Take out the oldest and the youngest. 82% of our population is below the age of 45. They're the ones spending money. Older people don't spend money. You know, they already have everything that they can have. They want their kids to tell them, don't buy me any presents, I don't need it. You know, I'm trying to get rid of stuff. So under 45, so that's a fantastic demographic. And 50% of our population has a college degree. We're probably the most educated population in the nation. And we know that because we're out in the audience, we're always being told how stupid we are up here. And they're right, half the time. All right. One thing that I would do is exactly what Rick Perry did. When the Toyota people came over to Texas, he said, you guys should be building Toyotas in Texas. And they said, no, that's crazy. The numbers don't work. Rick Perry took them to the parking lot to a Dallas football game. And they saw the pickups, and they said, we're going to build pickups. I'm telling you, when you have a potential client coming in here and they say, well, your poverty rate is such, you know, that you don't have the right demographic for a Trader's Joe or whatever, take them to a parking lot on campus. I mean, when some kids had the misfortune to be in my classroom, I was a graduate student teaching them English composition, poor puppies, they were driving BMWs. I was walking. I mean, they were doing really, really well. So I think that's one way of showing the potential that we have out here already. And Christmas in College Station, I love it, love it, love it. You're doing a great job. And so I'm hoping that we're adding to it, that we'll have more snow, that we'll have more hay rides, we'll have more, because that's so wonderful. It's free for everyone in the College Station, Bryan area and surrounding areas. So that's an exciting thing. Also, I think I'd like to see us become more engaged in the Sister City program. We've got representatives that come from Salamanca, Mexico, Belgium, Germany, and we're working on formalizing a Sister City. Right now, we're working on formalizing Sister City with Torun, Poland. And so anything we can do to help grow that is great. And also a professor from Brazil was telling me he would like to go ahead and try to make that happen as well. This not only brings in students, it also brings in the adults and businesses. For instance, we have representatives now going back over to Poland this month. And I'm chagrined to say that I do not have anything to give them. The governor of that area is hosting our people over there, and all we can give them is like pencils and T-shirts. I mean, it's embarrassing. So I hope we work on giving something of substance to dignitaries for our city. But I just think you're doing a great job, and I really like your new look, by the way. You look very, very professional. I'm happy to say that. I'm not going to say anything about before, but I really like your new look.
I understand the reference.
Very good. And couldn't be happy with Michael running that department. I mean, that guy is just flat out executive material. Just fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Maloney.
Mayor, if I could just make a couple comments on the last two with Councilmember
Yeah,
Yancey.
Go ahead.
Councilmember
I've got a
Maloney.
couple comments as well, but you go ahead.
Just want to focus back on kind of, the convention center discussion. I think one of the things that we need to do too is go through our tourism strategic plan, right? Find out where we excel. What are the types of meetings, the conferences, the sporting events, get a better understanding of what markets that we need to be in before we start looking to jump too large into something, because we want to make sure that we're successful in it. We don't want to build something and then all of a sudden we can't fill it. There's operational costs. So that's one of the things that our tourism strategic plan will help us understand. It's like, where do we need to be? What space do we need to be in? It'll give us a better understanding too of kind of what sizes of conferences that we'll be successful at. And then also too with the industry thing, it's very similar with the Economic Development Master Plan. It's like, what industries do we need to be involved in? Because It's very different from setting up an ecosystem that supports heavy industrial where you need hundreds of thousands of acres of land and rail access and good highway access compared to maybe we need to focus on IT-related initiatives, biotech, animal sciences. You're probably looking at a very different subset of not only an employment standpoint, but also the land that you need and where it's located within your community.
Excellent.
Well, you touched on a couple of things I was going to comment on. The whole purpose of workshop is to get feedback. I think you have a number of ideas from council members regarding those last two items, where you're going, and we don't know what that is going to look like until you get through all the process of doing the tourism strategic plan and the economic development master plan. I think both of those are pretty critical, and I'm really happy that they're high on the priorities of your department. I guess the only thing I would like to add, and you mentioned it, a couple of you mentioned it earlier, particularly Brian, the relationship with BVEDC, which is also going through a communications plan and trying to figure out how to represent the larger community here. And I think we need to have a pretty good coordination with that. They are talking about such things as industry verticals, and you know that language better than I do. You just mentioned two or three. I think coming out of this economic development master plan with regard to value-added jobs, that's something we got to focus in on, and I know that is part of what you're planning. Could you just comment at all about the relationship between your department and the BVDC operations?
Yeah, we continue to build that relationship, and that was kind of one of the first pillars. Those 7 things I had mentioned is continuing to build those relationships and partnerships. From not only from an industry recruitment standpoint, as Brian mentioned, a lot of the state leads for locations come through BVEDC, so we're in constant contact with them. Susan has now taken over executive director. We've had good relationship working with her. She's been able to fill her team continuously at BVEDC, and we continue to build those partnerships, whether it's on business retention and expansion opportunities, which will be key because we don't want to duplicate efforts, right? We don't want BVEDC going in there and then city following. We need to have a concerted effort from an economic development approach.
Right. Thank you. Well, I appreciate the presentation, quite a broad array of things. Certainly exciting, and it looks like it's a busy department, and it'll get busier in the months and years to come. So if there are no other comments, I think we'll move on to the next agenda item. Thank you very much. Next item on our workshop agenda is a presentation, discussion, and possible action regarding a crosswalk on Midtown Drive near Carol Francher Way. Ms. Fisher.
Thank you. Good evening, Emily Fisher, Public Works. That's a hard presentation to follow. So now we're going to talk about crosswalks.
Well, Public Works does all the infrastructure. None of the rest of this would work without Public Works
Thank you very much.
infrastructure.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. So this item is a presentation on options on the placement of a crosswalk on Midtown Drive. So currently, the Lick Creek Hike and Bike Trail passes Midtown Drive near the CSU substation. You can see there on the right side of the picture. It passes underneath the road. On the left there is Langford, and Carol Fancher Way is a private drive or road located down a little south of that, which is pointed out there. The crossing, this underpass crossing was completed in 2018 when we completed Lakeway, which is what Midtown Drive used to be called. The trail was there before, but when we constructed the road, that bridge was put in right there, and so we put the trail along underneath the bridge so that you could cross the road without going across the actual street where vehicles were. There were reasons we didn't install a crosswalk at that location at that time, and I'll go into that in a minute. But we did install a trail access point right next to the CSU substation that you can see there. Now, what we didn't anticipate and what happened very quickly after this opened was we found out that silt deposited very quickly on that trail after it rained. The creek tributary that runs right there filled up very quickly, brought a lot of dirt with it, and left it on the trail. So back in May of 2021, we presented two options to council. Either we could raise the trail and see if that alleviated the problem, or install a crosswalk with a median refuge and some flashing beacons up on Midtown Drive. At that point, back in 2021, the decision was made to raise the trail. So that work was completed last year. Along with that work, an additional access point was added on the west side of Midtown Drive. So that's pointed out on this picture as well. Although there has been some improvement with the silt deposition and the drainage down there, it does still get covered after every rain. According to our Parks and Recreation Department, it does have to be looked at after it rains and cleaned pretty regularly. So that brings us here today, and kind of what are some options on providing a crossing up at Midtown Drive to have an alternative way to get across the trail. I will say that Public Works, we get a lot of requests for crosswalks, and there are situations where we are able to install them quite easily by just painting them, maybe having to put in some ramps at the sidewalk. This situation presents a couple of challenges, and that's why we're bringing it to you for discussion. It's a little bit different than some other situations where we've installed just painted crosswalks on the street. Also, traffic engineering, there is never just like a yes or no answer to anything. There's no black or white. There's just all kinds of interpretations, and for crosswalks especially, there's no specific guidance, or there's a lot of guidance, a lot of technical papers and studies you can read, but there's no specific warrants for crosswalks like there would be for a traffic signal or a four-way stop. There's nothing out there that says if it meets this, you put it in. If it doesn't meet this, you don't put it in. There's nothing like that for crosswalks. So there's a lot of judgment there that you have to take into account. So some of the challenges with this particular location in installing a crosswalk is the sight distance. This is looking north on Midtown Drive towards the bridge where the underpass is. You can see there's a curve, and then there's a wall along the CSU substation, which is there on the right. To the left there, it's really small, but there's a fire hydrant right there. That's where Carol Fancher Way is. So this is not the worst case of sight distance we've ever seen, but it is a concern that cars coming down Midtown, if there were a crosswalk, say, closer to that bridge, that drivers might not necessarily see someone stepping out into the street to cross. Another concern would be we're on a downhill slope at this part of the street. Right now, this area is largely undeveloped, so the volume of vehicles on Midtown Drive is lower. So you've got downhill, not as many cars, people just tend to go faster, which also presents a risk to someone trying to cross the street right there. Now, as things develop out there, the volumes will get higher on the road, which might slow things down, but that presents a whole nother risk that you've got a lot more cars on the road now. And then as with anything that is separated from the road, that is going to be the safer option. So in this case, We have a crossing already there that is separated from the road that pedestrians can use to get across Midtown Drive. That is by far the safest option. When you start putting pedestrians on the street to cross, that presents a lot of risks. And pedestrians might start using that crosswalk more, might not use the underpass at all, and that's just, puts more risk on the pedestrian if they're going to cross at the street level when there's something right there that they can cross and not be in conflict with any vehicles. So I know that's all doom and gloom, but there are some options. We've got some solutions. So some options. So the first option is just to leave it as it is. Pedestrians continue to utilize the underpass. The second option would be to install a high visibility crosswalk with a median near Carol Fancher Way, and I've got a picture of what that would look like on the next slide. What a median refuge is just an island that would give an opportunity to the pedestrian to stop and wait for cars. So they are essentially, when they're crossing, they're only having to look in one direction. They look one way, they can cross and wait, and then look the other way and make sure no one's coming. So it gives them an opportunity to not have to worry about both directions of traffic coming to before they cross. This adds cost to a crosswalk, so we're estimating this at about $70,000. A third option, which is very similar to this, but would get a crosswalk closer to the actual underpass crossing where the access points are to the trail, would be a high visibility crosswalk with that median refuge, but would also include rectangular rapid flashing beacons, or RRFBs, and these are button activated flashing lights, so a pedestrian would push them. They're very bright. They rapidly flash, and they would signal to the vehicles, the drivers, that someone is trying to cross. So the vehicle would need to stop. We've got these installed. We've recently installed them on Walton near Thomas Park, and then as part of traffic calming, they were installed on St. Andrews Drive and Pebble Creek. They're widely used. They're becoming more and more popular. They're solar powered, so we don't need an electricity connection, but they do add cost. So the estimated cost for that would be $120,000. So this is an example of that second option, the crosswalk at Carol Fancher Way. Like I said, it's got that median where a pedestrian can stop, so they're not having to try to cross both lanes of traffic. The downside to this is it does take it away from those trail access points a little bit. So if they're wanting to come up off the trail and not go under, they're having to go south a little bit to cross. But just kind of alleviates the sight distance issue. It makes it more visible, and in fact, the flashing beacons would not be needed if we put it in this location. It's put at an intersection, which is always better than a mid-block crossing. And if in the future we decided we needed the flashing beacons because of the volume of cars or whatnot, we could install them at a later date at this location. If the third option was the preferred option, it would look very similar to this. It would just be scooted to the north more towards the underpass crossing and would have those flashing beacons. So 3 options. Like I said, it's the reason we're bringing it to you is a little bit more than what we usually do to install a crosswalk. And this concludes my presentation. I can answer any questions.
Can you go back to your 3-option page? What's the, and do you have an idea what the annual cost is of regular routine after every rain, sweeping and cleaning that crosswalk?
So Parks and Recreation
And I don't
handles
mean
the
crosswalk, the underpass.
maintenance. I'm not sure if they've got a cost on it.
It would be a regular activity, but it
Yes.
could be the annualized cost is a lot cheaper to have a crew just do that as part of their routine maintenance. It's still going to be cost. I understand that.
And we would, no matter which option council chooses, we would continue to clean out that underpass.
Well, then, I guess my point is then, if you're going to continue to do that, there may not be need for the crosswalk, but I'll leave that for other folks to speak to. I'd like to start with place one down here, and we'll move this way across to
Sure. One
provide
question
feedback.
on the option 3. What would the location of that crosswalk be?
So it would,
Okay.
probably in this area. So there's a few constraints over there. There's an inlet for drainage that we need to look at. We've got to stay away from that. This driveway right here is the emergency access for the Langford, so we need to stay away from that. So that could shift, but it would be in that general area.
Okay. I know we had a comment at the Council Transportation Committee meeting where they were speaking in favor of this crosswalk.
Correct. We on Tuesday of this past week, we did have a Transportation Mobility Committee meeting at Here Visitors. We did have one speaker spoke in favor of a crosswalk at this location.
Okay. And I've used that trail and crossed under the bridge and at the surface several times. Of course, right now with as minimal traffic as there is, it doesn't feel dangerous crossing without a crosswalk, but that's, I'd much prefer to go under the bridge, and when it's cleaned out, it's perfectly acceptable way to do it. I like that.
Any other comments?
No.
Mr. Wright?
So I don't want to sound reductive, but so this was brought up by just citizen wanting to put this here, or did we identify this problem and now we're being proactive on it?
So the presentation was a council request, but we have had inquiries from citizens about adding a crossing.
I weirdly feel like it's like one step forward, two steps back, because I feel like I understand the need for it, but it also feels like we're introducing a lot more danger that we already have solved by having an underpass there. So I am sort of on the side of not doing anything at the current time. But that's where I am, because it feels like we're like, whoa, we're going to possibly get people killed by putting the crosswalk here when we have a perfectly viable option already that just happens to sometimes need to be cleaned, and it's already being cleaned. So am I misunderstanding something? Okay.
Ms. Harvell?
I'm going to agree with Mr. Wright. It seems to me if we're already cleaning out underneath that, that pathway, then that should take away any type of challenges, somebody trying to cross the street. And, the safety of our residents is the number one priority. But looking at the options, I think as Mr. Smith said, it's kind of like a catch-22 thing. So I think I'm kind of leaning towards just making sure we're very diligent about keeping that space clean after any kind of rain.
And Ms. Harvell? I'm sorry, Ms. Kuna. Do you wish to speak to it or wait?
Oh, no, I'd like to speak to
Oh,
it.
there you go.
Okay, so here's some thoughts. After the last couple rains, they did a great job cleaning it. That thing has not been cleaned prior to that in a very long time. The dirt buildup was this thick. It's better because it doesn't get wet all the time, but it is very difficult to cross under there after rain. In fact, they have gates that they put across to close it off. And when they put those gates up, the only option you have is to go up and over. The gates are still there because I biked it yesterday. Yesterday was the last time I biked it. And so when those gates get put up, then you've got to go up and over. It floods. When it floods, you have to go up and over. So at that point, your choice is to go without a crosswalk or with a crosswalk. I do not understand why we need a median refuge. That's what's driving up the price, I think. If we can put a stop sign for $125, I don't understand how all of us, the RRFB ones put $50,000 additional charge on there because they blink when you push a button.
Yes.
Right,
yeah.
when you go to the finance ones, it was 70 without them, it was 120 with them, right? Because they blink. So let's not blink, but if we could put a crosswalk across there without a median refuge, the pedestrian, oh, Ms. Fisher, the pedestrians are not supposed to stop and wait for the cars. The cars are supposed to stop and wait for the pedestrians. That's what's supposed to happen. And so if you put a crosswalk on there and we encourage our drivers to observe the crosswalk and stop at the crosswalk, then the pedestrian can cross the crosswalk without needing a median refuge. That median refuge drives up the price, does it not?
Yes, it does. Yes.
Right, so let's not put a median refuge. Let's not expect the pedestrian to stop and wait for the cars. Let's put a crosswalk and expect the cars to stop and wait for the pedestrian. And let's do signs that don't blink. And let's get the kind that cost $125, like stop signs, and just put those up there and give these guys a safe passage across the top. I do not know any pedestrian or bicycle person that is going to choose to go over and up rather than under unless they have to. So to suggest that if we build a crosswalk, more people will choose to cross over than under, I would love the data that supports that. My personal anecdote is that you wouldn't find a pedestrian that would rather go over than under unless it's flooded or gated or closed. And so I don't think we're endangering more people by putting a crosswalk across there. In fact, I think we're facilitating movement that is already necessary on occasion. And I think now is the perfect time to put that crosswalk up because, as you said, there are not very many cars going across Victoria yet. And so we're going to train those drivers in the early stages that there's a crosswalk here and we need to stop at the crosswalks. And College Station is not great at that, but we can get better. So I just came back from Washington, D.C., and those guys are amazing. There's a crosswalk, and you stop, you walk into that crosswalk, the cars stop. Like, they stop, and then the pedestrian crosses. I do believe that is the function. I do not believe the function of a crosswalk is to give the pedestrian a place to stand until the cars stop. We don't need a median refuge. We need automobile drivers that can respect a crosswalk, and we need a crosswalk for when the underpass is closed or not passable. And I don't think we need $120,000 to do it.
Mr. Yancey?
Thank you, Mayor Nichols. So I drive this literally every day on my way to Lowe's, one of my favorite stores, and if not my favorite store. And this is a beautiful piece of infrastructure. And I think what we need to be thinking about is when Ostrowski and his Cracker Jack team have closed on the 28-acre Costco track, when they've closed on the 200-acre Midtown Business Park track, if you get a 400 employee or greater business on that campus, I mean, you're gonna have a lot of cars going up and down this road. And in fact, I think we have to prognosticate that because that's why we built this, right? And it's why we have the business park. And it's, so as far as the 4 or 5 times that I've been on this walkway, yeah, it was covered with mud basically every time that I've walked my dogs down there. What would happen if we, on the northeast side of the trail going under Midtown, what would happen if we put like a 5-foot stone protection or barrier wall right there about, hip high, or whatever the engineering calls for based on the predominant flooding levels when it rains real hard, in order to keep a majority of that silt out of there so that that area is open and we can keep people from coming up that, because when they come up that little ramp right there and they do, I mean, when you got 1,000 cars a day going up and down that road, or whatever the traffic analysis numbers are, that is going to create issues. And I would respectfully offer to my esteemed colleague that if we put a stop sign there and just require them to stop, and at 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock, people are coming and going from work, I mean, you could have a line hundreds of yards long. Okay. But what if we just spared city staff the maintenance repetition with a relatively small capital investment and built a waist-high silt barrier decorative stone wall in order to ensure that the path stays open? Did we look at that? Can we look at that?
I'm not sure what was looked at when when the trail was raised prior. It's something that could be looked at. I know
Emily, so this was pre-Emily, it's right when I came in here. Originally, just quick background, the trail was actually lower and flooded worse. And so I think Councilmember Kuna kind of made the point, you don't see it as wet anymore because we raised it up kind of to the maximum we could, but it does still get covered. And so unfortunately, what would happen, even if you put the wall up, the longitudinal flow of the water is what carries the sediment in there, so it would still be in there. But we did look at those types of things, and some of it, because it's in the floodplain, how much you can put in there. But essentially what we did at the time was, from a technical standpoint, we did the best that we could, which is we raised it up as high as we could and put everything in there we thought we could. So you could conceivably maybe do something somewhere else to catch silt. But the problem is it is just so in the floodplain. Like it's I want to say it's like the 4 or 5 year storm. So you can't hold back the storm. It would basically get inside of that wall and deposit the same thing. So we did look at that when this happened, and actually this is a revision of the original height of the surface for that exact reason.
Thank you very much, City Manager. I guess I would close my remarks, Mayor Nichols, with all due respect to Councilwoman Cunha, and I think she has some very valid points. It just scares me, the notion of 8-10 years from now, when we've got a higher volume of traffic on this road, pushing people up to that blind corner behind our substation. I'd rather see them go 100 yards out of their way and continue under the roadway, and if they want to work their way back to the southeast, do it with the existing trail that's, already there. And if they want to continue going west and hook up with the trail on the highway, then they can do that too, unimpeded. I almost wish we didn't have that ramp right there at the blind corner of the substation at all. To me, that's where the gate should be. And in 8 and 10 years, I imagine when we revisit the issue, we might do something like that. But people drive too fast up and down that road. And anyway, thank you, Mayor Nichols.
Thank you. Mr. Maloney?
Well, like Bob, I spent a lot of my life on that road. I made a comment some time back when Bob Brick was on the council. I said, I drive that road's a straight shot from my house to Lowe's. He said, boy, ain't nothing straight about that road. And he's absolutely right. It is so serpentine that it's really dangerous. Going 30, I put it on speed control because every once in a while, there's one of those College Station police officers out there looking for some easy money. He's not going to get mine. So I put it on 35, and I go through there, and even holding that at 35, but you come to a certain point when you get close to Scott and White, you really want to put the brake on. So my concern is, and it goes to what Bob was talking about, is in the future, there's going to be a lot of cars going up and down there. And no matter where you put a crosswalk, people are going to take the shortest route. Remember when Texas A&M University put the pedestrian overpass going across Welborn Road to Kyle Field? No one that didn't own a skateboard ever got on that thing. And you can see why, because you're going to take the shortest route. We are, by nature, we look at the shortest route. I kind of like the idea of just putting a stop sign up there, but I agree again with Bob, but you're going to have cars backed up to Rock Prairie and to William Fitch. So I don't know what your solution is. I really don't, other than re-engineering the underpass, because that is the safest route. I leave it up to you because I'm not an engineer.
This is where I regret being mayor. I would love to jump in right at the beginning. So I will make my statement, and then we'll go back to others if they wish. With the frequency of bicyclists crossing there, or pedestrians crossing there, I don't see, if everybody even behaves, I kind of agree with Ms. Kuna. You have a crosswalk with some kind of identification, you do it in a place where you can see easily. There's not enough pedestrians, you're going to have all those cars backing up. Give me a break. They're not going to be backing up back all the way to William D. Fitch. That's not even plausible.
Piszczalczyk might
But-
disagree with you.
Well, there are not that many pedestrians crossing or bicyclists crossing, but I think the simplest solution is, and this is something that should be done. I think you don't have to do the median right now. You do the basic crosswalk, and I like it closer to Carol Francher because it's also for surface pedestrians and other people that are walking, want to cross the street to get over and get onto that Lick Creek Park and go east. They can use that. If people are coming down Carol Francher, if Francher, there's a bank up there now, I think at that corner above the Langford. There's going to be other development along that area. To me, I think, yeah, you'd want to keep as many people as you can going underpass if they're already on the trail. You don't want them getting off the trail just to find that. I think we need to continue to have a dedicated cleaning area down there, clean that whole area on a regular basis. But I think a simple crosswalk with simple pedestrian crossing signs, you can come along 5 years from now and put flashing signs in there real easily. You can come back 5 years later and put a median in there if you really think people need a refuge. I think you've got a pretty good solution with the underpass as it is. A couple of gentlemen down here suggested they think it's probably okay the way it is. I think you could add the crosswalk, make it useful for people coming down Carol Francher, and make it a way for those that do want to get instead of going under, they want to go above. Yeah, they got to walk up the street a little bit further and come back, or ride up the side of that street. They can do that if they choose. I think you go with the least expensive crosswalk and start from there, and then add features to it if you really think the safety issues are a problem as that traffic picks up. That, to me, is a pretty straightforward way to do it and a pretty inexpensive way to do it. I think a crosswalk's a good idea. I think putting up clear signs, you don't need the flashing lights, but you move it back closer to Carol Francher, which has got more visibility. And that'd be just a normal crosswalk at a street, at an intersection. Anyway, now I said my 2 cents worth. Ms. Kuna wanted to add some more thoughts.
All right. It was great thoughts, Mayor. I appreciate you saying all of those things. I do think people tend to take the shortest route. That's absolutely true. The shortest route is the underpass. That's what people will take until they can't. And when they can't and they have to cross that street, they have to go over. And I agree with you that the cars go really fast and that there will soon be more cars. But we cannot resolve traffic congestion if we totally do what is the best, fastest thing for the car. We have to, at some point, prioritize the pedestrian. And I think putting a simple crosswalk so that when they have to go across the top because they can't go under, that there is a marked crossing for them to cross at. I think our cars need to stop at crosswalks. I think we should assume that they will. I think our police should encourage them to stop at crosswalks. And I think that should be the assumption that we move under. They just need a simple crosswalk so that when they can't go under, there's a way for them to go over, because you're right, those cars are moving fast, and there's quite a few now, there'll be a ton more later, and the pedestrian needs a safe way to cross. And so I hope that you can support a simple crosswalk. I don't think it's going to cost nearly $70,000. Once you get rid of that median refuge, I think the price will come way down. Ms. Kane showed us 2 council meetings ago that she saved $100,000 on some project that we had budgeted for, and then that money came into the general fund. We have the money, we have the need. That trail gets so much use. If I bike it, I've biked that trail at 2 in the morning, at midnight, at 7 a.m., at 6 a.m., at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday through Fridays, sometimes on the weekends. There's always people on that trail. There's walkers, there's dog walkers, there's cyclists, there's families, there's old people, there's young people. That is the most well-used trail that I've experienced in College Station. It's deserving of pedestrian accommodation when they close or make the underpass impassable.
So
You-
just,
I think Mr. Maloney wanted to
Yeah,
make one more
I'm-
comment.
I'm for crosswalks. I have no problem with it. All we have to do is educate people. But I think a simple crosswalk actually means you have to stop for a pedestrian.
correct.
That's across the
Yes.
world. I mean,
Yes.
you could step out in the middle of traffic in Rome, and if you're on a crosswalk, they screech to a halt. So I have no problem with that. We need to educate people on that. But I think I would just paint my crosswalk on there, and then I put yield to pedestrian, one sign on one side, one on the other, amen, goodbye. Maybe less than $500. If it costs more than that, call me.
So, yeah, just to
Oh, you have to do a ramp?
clarify a couple things if I could, Mayor.
Yeah, well, but Mr. Smith wanted to make
Okay.
one more comment.
Well, okay, I appreciate all of the comments. My concern, if we do put a crosswalk in, we need to put it in at the location that has the best sight distance. If
Yes.
we're inviting pedestrians into a blind trap if we don't put it
Right.
at the most optimal location.
Yeah.
I know, I mean, there will be people who will run across the street because it's shorter.
Oh, you see
But
it
we
all the
shouldn't
time.
put a crosswalk in there thinking that's going to protect them. Because it's not, if the cars can't see them, they won't stop.
People are running across there anyway, so
Yeah.
the crosswalk should provide a safe refuge. The city is doing its due diligence to try to provide a safe refuge. I believe the sightline issue is really important. Now, Ms. Fisher, please ask for clarification where you need it.
Well, I was just, a couple things. So the standard now is the stop for pedestrian signs on either side of the crosswalk. So we don't use the yield to pedestrian in any, it's stop. So the second thing is the refuge is not there for the pedestrian to wait for cars. It's to give them a chance to only have to look in one direction. And also, this is a 54-foot wide street. So it's longer than, say, at Victoria, where the trail comes into Victoria. So when you've got a longer distance to travel, this gives them a chance if they can't make it across, to give them a chance to stop. So, and in fact, having that island in the middle could in fact slow cars down. But yes, a car is required to stop if there is someone in the crosswalk or about to cross. It's just, they don't. So we're trying to give as many countermeasures to the pedestrian to keep them safe if we're going to have them cross at grade. That's what we're doing, what we're proposing here.
I've walked across that a lot of times, and I can see both ways and get across there. Right now, there's not that much traffic, I agree. I'm basically with Ms. Kuna, that the refuge, I understand, yeah, you get that far, you get a chance to look the other way to double check. But as I cross over, I'm looking both ways, and frankly, I don't trust that yield sign anyway. I'm going to wait till the traffic clear, or wait to see that car is stopping before I walk across there. Anyway, I agree with Mr. Smith about it being at the best site location. I think that's right near Carol Fancher. If you can't stop people from jaywalking, they do it all the time. I see it do it on Southwest Parkway all the time, and lots of other places. We can't protect against that. I think we provide the best crossing space we can safely and move ahead. I don't know how other people feel, but if staff absolutely thinks you got to have the median in there, I guess, I mean, if you're telling us that that's the very number one recommendation from you, I couldn't argue. But yeah, it will slow traffic, but you'll see a lot of people running over it. Look at those medians we got over there on
We've got
Dexter.
the noses painted yellow.
I know, noses are painted yellow, and they fade. We got a lot of noses that aren't painted yellow in the city. You and I don't want to have that conversation today. Yeah. So anyway, concerned about that median being a bit of a hazard for cars as well, but frankly, the biggest hazard is down there by Midtown, Town Lake Drive, where people can't figure out where the road is, and I don't blame them. Anyway, any other comments? Did you get any guidance out of this? I mean, we're a little bit pushing back on you.
I think you need to make a motion and vote to tell us exactly what it is, because I don't think we have.
Okay, I will offer a motion, we'll see where it goes. I move that we put in a standard crosswalk with the current standard yield to pedestrian signs or stop for pedestrian signs, and that crosswalk be located in the appropriate place near Carol Fancher Drive.
I'll second it.
So that's a motion. We got a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We got a motion unanimously.
There you go.
And you don't have, I didn't include a median in that. But there's nothing
it's
to
needed,
present you from the next council coming back and saying, well, we need to upgrade that crosswalk because we got more traffic, got more pedestrians.
Yeah.
Okay?
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Clear as mud or silt, as
All
it were.
right. Now, I should have made that motion right at the beginning. We would have been saved an hour. Thank you for those that were here for the presentations, 8.1 and 8.2 in workshop. We're now moving to the regular agenda. I assume council's ready to continue on, and we'll get through this. We got several items, several public hearings. Number one, 9.1. Public hearing, presentation, discussion, possible action on budget amendment number 2, amending ordinance number 2023-4457, amending the budget for 2023-2024 fiscal year in the amount of $361,631. Now, that's an interesting use of 3 digits.
Isn't it?
Really cool, Mary Ellen. You did a great job on that. You only used 3 digits, doubled.
Yeah, isn't it? This is the FY24 second budget amendment. As a reminder, the budget amendment process is that first we have to publish a notice of public hearing. That was done in the Eagle on May 16th. Today, we are holding the public hearing, and the things that can possibly be considered for a budget amendment are amending the budget authorizations, amending the budget amount, and approving interfund transfers. This budget amendment is only amending the budget amount. The amount that we are asking to amend the budget by is $361,631. It includes $37,000 for equipment and training for the Victim Liaison Grant. Was grant awarded appropriations, and this is a city match for supplies, trainings, and other things that FTE needs that was included in budget amendment number 1. The $140,000 is a replacement for 2 police vehicles that were totaled. We need to replace those vehicles. And this is just authorizing that we have the funds to go and replace those vehicles. The Fund for All group has given the city some money. They now have some design costs that they would like to expend for an enhanced plaza totaling $75,000. We did not appropriate that in the FY24 budget, so this is just adding that expenditure to the FY24 budget of funds that committee group had already given the city. And then lastly, for 1207, which is the facility for economic development and tourism, they need some acoustic tiles in the event space, and the amount that they need would be $109,631. So the budget amendment, again, the total amount would be, of the budget after this amendment would be $505,984,947. We are requesting that council hold the public hearing and then consider the ordinance and the budget amendment amount.
Any questions for Ms. Mary Ellen? Seeing none, oh, Ms. Kuna?
Ms. Leonard, I appreciate you pointing out that the $75,000 has actually been donated by a private group, and we're just appropriating that money.
Correct.
But the money is not taxpayer money, but private donations. On the $140,000 for the totaled police vehicles, I think this is the second time since I've been on council that we've had to replace totaled police vehicles. Do you know the story behind those? Like, were they, like, do we go after the insurance for the people that hit them? Like, do
We
you know?
do. Whenever there's an accident like that, that's part of our risk department. They do have a group of people within risk that manage going, and I wouldn't say go after those people, but to get as much as we can from our insurance proceeds and what would be due the city. But we do still have to replace the vehicles. So we need to appropriate the funds to replace the
No,
vehicles.
I get that we have to replace them, but is it like the Fund for All money where this is the insurance money that we were giving and now we're just appropriating it?
No, ma'am, it's not.
This is taxpayer money that we're going to replace these vehicles with?
Yes, and then if we receive any reimbursement related to whatever happened, which I do not know exactly the story behind what happened with those vehicles, but if we do receive any of that money, it is then deposited back into the funds where the expense would come from. So at that point in time, there would be a reimbursement, but not at this point in time.
And I would just point out, it is a timing thing, and since we brought it up, so people know, it's the same thing if people hit physical infrastructure. So when people hit lights or poles or signs, and we have to spend money on them, you see us spend it in one place, but when we settle with the insurance company or they have to pay it, it comes back in, you don't see it the same way.
Any other questions? Okay, this is a public hearing. No one has signed up to speak, but I will open the public hearing for anyone that wishes to speak on this budget amendment. Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and turn to the will of the council. Motion made by Ms. Harvell, seconded by Mr. Smith. No further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 9.2, presentation discussion, possible action on resolution directing publication of notice of intention to issue certificates of obligation series 2024 and providing an effective date. Mr. Michael DeHaven.
Michael DeHaven, Assistant Finance Director. Mayor Council, tonight we're going to go over the FY24 Certificates of Obligation issue, specifically the Notice of Intent. The first step in the process to issue certificates of obligation is to have a Notice of Intent published, and that's what we're discussing tonight. The notice we plan or propose will run in the paper on May 30th and June 6th. During that same time frame, they will continuously be posted to our website. State law requires that the certificates of obligation have a 45-day notice period, and the notice actually sets the maximum amount of certificates that we can issue during this fiscal year. Here's a list of the projects. Now, we'll get more detailed into these projects during the budget workshop, but currently, right now, our proposed debt issue for the fiscal year would be $56,500,000. Now, that does include general obligation bonds and certificates of obligation. The general obligation bonds that were voter authorized in 2022, we are currently proposing about $13.2 million on Proposition D, and those are all those parks projects. For the certificates of obligation, which we're discussing tonight, the total is $43.3 million. Kind of going down the list there. And these are kind of high-level buckets, not the specific projects in there. We have some existing facility upgrades, new facility projects, that's $12.5 million. Citywide fiber, this is actually fiber that would be for city facilities and to our signals. It's not fiber for citizens. That's $1.1 million. Streets, sidewalks, and paths, that bucket's $5.5 million, and parks and recreational facilities is $7.7 million. the total for the governmental funds would be 26.8 there. And then, of course, we use certificates of obligations for our utility funds. We package those together to get better interest rates. And so the utilities is 16.5 million, excuse me, and that makes up the 43.3 million. Next, I'll kind of go over the timeline for the bond issue this year. Tonight, we are discussing the notice of intent to issue the certificates of obligation. On June 17th, we will distribute the preliminary official statement to the rating agencies. This is basically just more details about the bonds and financial metrics about the city. On June 24th to 28th, during that week, we will meet with the rating agencies and present to them. We usually get our rating about a week after that time frame. And July 25th is when we plan to bring the parameters ordinance. This is when you would actually be setting the parameters and authorizing to issue debt for the city. And then closing on those bonds would be somewhere around August 27th. So that's all I have for the presentation.
Any questions for Mr. DeHaven? Mr. Maloney?
Yeah, Michael,
Yeah.
I was curious, the timing looks good, because right now the Fed is not doing anything, but there's a suggestion that they may lower the rate next time around.
Not
So-
according to the market today.
Well, and the market will get to 40 soon too, so. But what happens if it turns out that it flips and the interest rates are higher? Are we still obligated to issue them, or can we say, calf rope, we're not interested in doing this now?
So on July 25th, that's the actual parameters ordinance. It gives us parameters of what we can issue those bonds at and gives us flexibility of when we price them. Normally, we would price them a few days after or the week after that. But we also have a time frame that we can actually wait to actually issue the bonds.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that.
Mr. Yancey?
Thank you, Mayor Nichols. Mr. DeHaven, great presentation. Again, we're not authorizing the issuance of the bond. We're issuing notice that we likely will.
That is correct.
Okay. The city, for you and/or Mr. Kirsten, the city's roughly, and this is primarily for the folks that have, expressed concerns to me about the $56 million in new debt issuance, and I think they're legitimate concerns until you know the backstory. So the city's revenue all in generally is, it's about a $500 million organization, very, very roughly. Is that correct? And our outstanding debt right now is what?
I can give you that. As of right now, our outstanding debt is, this includes both governmental and utilities combined, is $435 million. That was at the end of fiscal year '23. We matured $35.6 million of that, so we're roughly at $400 million.
And that's what I was trying to get at. Just as we're having to issue, as a normal course of business, $56 million in new debt today, on an annualized basis, debt is getting retired on an ongoing basis as we go, year in and year out, correct?
That is correct.
And at a $500 million organization with $400 million in outstanding debt, it's roughly analogous to a family of four with a combined income of $100,000 having $90,000 in debt, all in, their car note, their house note, everything, right?
Comparable, yes.
Yeah, and so that's, a pretty good position to be in, and so that's probably why our bond rating is good as it is because we're a well-run organization. Would you agree?
I would agree with that, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor Nichols.
Thank you. Ms. Cunha?
Yes, so to bounce off Councilmember Yancey's first point, this is just a notice of intent. We're not issuing the bonds.
That is correct.
And so you said tonight is not the time to ask what the Parks is going to spend their 7.7 on, what these revolver funds are for. When in this calendar slide that you have up here, when do we find out what they're going to spend all of that money on?
So during our budget workshops, we will actually have more detailed specifics on these projects. I can tell you that 7.7 million kind of in there would be for ball fields and for some of the upgrades at other facilities in the parks program.
Right, but those details will be given to us in July 13th, 16th, somewhere in there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and that's just prior to July 25th when we're actually authorizing the issuance for the bonds?
Yes,
So we could change our mind on July 25th.
yes.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, this is not a public hearing. It's simply a notification of the intent to issue the certificate of obligation. So the chair will entertain a motion to approve this.
Move to approve?
Mr. Smith said he would approve. Who seconds?
Bob.
I said Smith said yeah. He made the motion.
Yeah.
Who seconded?
Bob.
Okay, there we go, Mr. Yancey. I got two ears, but I'm not looking in two different directions at once. Thank you for that clarification. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. DeHaven. And we'll move on to the first of our land use issues. Number 9.3, public hearing, presentation, discussion, possible action regarding an ordinance amending Appendix A, UDO, Article 4, zoning district, Section 4.2, official zoning map of the Code of Ordinances of the City of College Station, Texas, by changing the zoning district boundary from M1 light industrial to SC suburban commercial for approximately 2.017 acres, being Lot 11R of the Century Hill development, generally located at 3109 Corsair Drive. Mr. Schrum.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Gabriel Schrum, Planning and Development Services. This evening's request is to rezone 3109 Corsair Drive, an approximately 2-acre vacant lot near the intersection of Corsair Drive and Emerald Parkway. The land within close proximity to this property include undeveloped light industrial land to the north and south, an assisted living facility to the east, and a medical clinic to the west. This property's comprehensive land use is neighborhood commercial, and neighborhood commercial areas are generally appropriate for commercial activities that cater primarily to nearby residents. These areas have limited commercial services compared to the general commercial zoning district and tend to be smaller format and are located adjacent to major roads along the fringe of residential areas. The zoning districts that are generally appropriate within this land use include suburban commercial and office. Staff feels that this request is appropriate and aligned with the comprehensive plan's future land use, development pattern, and their overall vision for the area. This slide just shows the proposed zoning from light industrial to suburban commercial, and after the overall discussion and review, staff has determined that this request met the outlined rezoning criteria, such as being consistent with the comprehensive plan, a fitting use appropriate to the area, and having physical suitability within the proposed zoning district. To conclude my presentation, staff is recommending approval of this rezoning request from light industrial to suburban commercial. This was heard at the May 2nd Planning and Zoning meeting, where it was voted unanimously in recommendation of approval. I am available for any questions at this time. The applicant doesn't have a presentation, but he is here for questions as well.
Thank you, Mr. Schramm. Does anyone on the council have any questions? Bob?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Did you receive any citizen feedback in opposition to this rezoning at all?
Yeah, so no opposition. We had that courtesy public hearing sign out there. We just had two kind of general inquiries about it to see what all this rezoning was and the intended use.
And the applicant doesn't want to give a presentation? I saw him at PNC. Okay, well, the mayor's back. Go ahead.
So where are we?
We're ready to do
That's public hearing, okay. Did you open the public hearing? You already had the public hearing?
No, you have to open the public hearing. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
I'm opening public hearing on this item, 9.3. You've heard the presentation. Anyone, nobody signed up to speak? So I will close the public hearing and move to the will of council.
Move to approve.
Motion was made by Mr. Maloney and seconded by Mr. Wright. Any further discussion? Here?
I think this is going to be a great location. I go by there all the time with the nursing facility that just opened over there. I think it's a perfect use of that land, so thank you so much. That's it.
Okay, motion's been on the floor to approve item 9.3. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Moving to item 9.4, public hearing, presentation, discussion, and possible action regarding an ordinance amending the comp plan, future land use and character map from suburban residential and natural open areas to neighborhood commercial and natural open areas for approximately 3.25 acres generally located west of the intersection of Nantucket Drive and State Highway 6 South. Ms. Macias.
Mayor, I will be presenting items 9.4 and 9.5 together.
You want me to open that too?
Please.
Okay, 9.5 is also being opened. Public hearing, presentation, discussion, possible action regarding an ordinance amending Appendix A UDO, Article 4 zoning districts, Section 4.2 official zoning map of the Code of Ordinances, City of College Station, Texas, by changing the zoning district boundaries from R rural to PDD Plan Development District on approximately 3.25 acres, being in the Starrett D. Smith League, Abstract 210, and a portion of Lot 3, Block 13, Nantucket Phase 2, generally located west of the intersection of Nantucket Drive and State Highway 6 South. I have instructions here that we're going to have a joint presentation, and but we'll be voting on these two items separately.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Robin Macias, Planning and Development Services. Tonight's request is for a comprehensive plan amendment and rezoning for approximately 3 acres located at the intersection of State Highway 6 and Nantucket Drive. You can see to the north of this property is Nantucket Lake. To the south of the property are some residential homes across Nantucket Drive and the Nantucket HOA sign. And to the west of the property are residentially zoned properties that are currently being used as commercial development. The comprehensive plan future land use map designates this area currently as suburban residential and natural and open areas. Suburban residential areas are primarily for areas that consist of low to moderate density single-family lots, which are consistent with a neighborhood subdivision. Natural and open areas are areas that represent a constraint to development and should be conserved for their natural function or open space qualities. The request tonight is to amend the comprehensive plan to neighborhood commercial and natural and open areas. Neighborhood commercial areas are commercial activities that cater to nearby residents. These areas tend to be smaller format than general commercial and are typically located adjacent to major roads along the fringe of residential areas. Along with the comprehensive plan amendment, they are also requesting a rezoning from R rural to PDD Plan Development District with a base zoning of O office and NAP natural areas protected. With the PDD rezoning, they are providing the proposed concept plan. This concept plan shows the building areas, open space, and parking areas, and the hatched areas will be the natural area protected. With the concept plan, they are asking for 2 modifications. One modification is to remove the requirement for the fence along the buffer area without doubling the plantings, and these areas are proposed in red. The area in between the 2 red lines is a current access easement, so a buffer is not required in that area. The second request is to remove a 50-foot portion of the buffer area that is adjacent to the commercial use that shows the view of the lake. So as part of the comprehensive plan amendment, the applicant did host a neighborhood meeting on April the 2nd, where approximately 13 people were in attendance. At this meeting, there were a lot of discussion regarding what the applicant could do for the neighborhood. They had a second neighborhood meeting on April 16th, where approximately 12 people were in attendance. The applicant worked with the neighborhood to come up with the following community benefits. They will be removing more intense permitted uses such as animal care facilities, daycares, personal service shops, and educational facilities for indoor instruction. They will be following the SC suburban commercial standards for NRA and parking lot lighting, as well as limiting the hours of operation of the businesses to end at 7 p.m. And the parking lot lighting will be off during the hours of 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. They will also be constructing a recreational trail along the natural areas, and you can see shown in the concept plan. No freestanding sign will be permitted. They will be limited to a low profile sign. And with that sign, there will be no internally illuminated cabinet signage allowed. Signage may only be externally illuminated, and that is to reduce some of the light pollution that could be caused by the sign. This item was heard at the May 2nd Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, where they recommended unanimously approval. I had one inquiry regarding the request. It was just a general inquiry. Staff is recommending approval of both the comprehensive plan amendment and the rezoning. The applicant is here. She does have a short presentation, and I am available for questions.
Let's start with questions for staff. Any questions, Mr. Smith, Mr. Wright? Sorry. Well, but you don't have a question at this point? No questions at this end. So there are no questions, but this is a public hearing. But did you indicate that they'd like Mitchell and Morgan or the applicants want to make a presentation, or are they here just for questions? Are you here just for questions? Does anybody have questions for the applicant?
Nope.
Okay. Well, is there a short presentation or not?
She does have a presentation available.
Available if you want to see. Miss Harvell would like to see a picture of it.
Good evening, Council. Chrissy Hartle with Mitchell and Morgan and 3204 Earl Road Freeway South. I don't have a picture of the endodontics office, but I can provide more details about what we discussed in the neighborhood meetings, which was what I will be focusing on this evening, if that would be helpful. As Robin mentioned, we did have two neighborhood meetings. Our first one on April 2nd. We presented a concept based on suburban commercial, and we realized that that was not something that was that the residents preferred to see many of the retail sales and services. So we came back with a modified concept plan and PDD application that responded to the concerns that we have listed there. And the new application was based around the O office zoning district. We expanded our list of community benefits to respond to those concerns, and included a lot of protective measures that the neighborhood felt like was necessary and preferred for the development. So we feel like we included a lot of the requests that they had. We responded to them and accommodated them in our application. I don't have a graphic of what the building will look like, but it will be built according to the suburban commercial standards, so it'll have more of a residential architectural feel with low profile lighting, limited parking lot lighting, and things that will be very compatible with the Nantucket neighborhood.
So did I see where they wanted to remove the 2 rows of trees? Why? As part of the requirements?
So with the buffer modification that we're asking for, we have the option to build the fence and provide buffer plantings. The adjacent neighbors that are the 2 lots that you see there to the left of the property did not want a fence. They didn't want to look at a structural fence between their properties and the backs of these buildings. So in responding to that request of them, we offered to only plant the buffer plantings. So there will be buffer plantings between the building areas and the rest of the development. Within the areas that say buffer area will be buffer plantings, but there will not be a fence that would normally be required with the ordinance.
Anything further? Is that the end of your presentation?
That is.
Okay. Any other questions? Mr. Yancey?
Yes. I had counselor duty for this P&Z hearing, and a member of the HOA stood up in support of this project. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yep. And while there was some initial pushback from the neighborhood, the applicants worked with the HOA, and now they're virtually unanimously in support of it, correct?
We've worked very well with them, and we feel like we addressed all of their concerns.
And I, as one member of council, just want to thank the applicants for their service to our nation. I'm a fellow Air Force vet myself. I want to thank you for working with the neighborhood and with city staff on this as successfully as you did. Thank you for being willing to risk capital in our city. And in the event this passes tonight, I wish you the best of luck in your new venture. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Maloney.
Yeah, I also want to give a shout out to, I attended the meeting as well, and I want to give a shout out to Morgan and Mitchell Engineers. They work very, very closely with the neighbors and with their clients. I think you did a great job reaching out to everyone and talking through all the finer points and preserving the ambiance of that particular area. So good job.
Thank you, Ms. Maloney, and thank you as well. We appreciate your presentation. I think we can move on to the public hearing. There evidence that there wasn't at the end any opposition. No one has signed up to speak on this, so it's a good situation when we have a rezoning and a land use change, and it seems like everybody finds a positive aspect of it from each side, so that's great. So I open the public hearing. No one has signed up. Anyone that wishes to speak is welcome to come forward. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and turn to the will of the council.
Move to approve, Mayor Nichols.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Yancey, seconded by Mr. Maloney to,
Mayor, you need a motion
oh,
for,
that's true. We got two items. We got two items. We are first considering item 9.4, which is the land use change, I believe, if I get back to that. The land use change, so the motion, we're first having a motion on the land use character map.
Same motion.
Motion. Same second, okay. I have motion and second on item 9.4 regarding the land use change. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Now we will turn to 9.5, which is the zoning change that was previously described. The chair will entertain a motion.
Same motion.
Same second.
A motion by Mr. Yancey, seconded by Mr. Maloney to approve this request for a zoning change. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Good job, everybody. And moving to item 9.6, after some discussion, this item will be pulled for further consideration by staff as the development of the agreement between the two cities is finalized. There are presentations by City Bryan and City College Station is working through those changes, and they'll be working on the changes on that ILA amendment, and at that appropriate time, they will bring forward item 9.6 for consideration. So we're pulling item 9.6, moving to the council calendar. Starting on Monday, city offices will be closed because that is Memorial Day. We've got a beautiful 3-day weekend. May 28th, Neighborhood Seminar Supper is covering solid waste solutions at City Hall, 6 p.m. in the Heart of Aggieland Room. May 30th, Texas Music Friendly East-South Regional Breakfast here in 1207 at 9 a.m. I believe all council members are invited to that. Who's in charge of that? They've all left. So I think that's open to everybody. And business after hours is on May 30th, the Grand Station Entertainment. That's a chamber business. I guess that's a chamber business after hours at 5:30 p.m. at the Grand Station. June 3rd, HPC meeting, Municipal Court, second floor conference room. That's historical preservation. And June 4th, Budget and Finance Committee meeting, City Hall, 1938 Executive Conference Room at 1:30. ZBA meeting, City Hall, Council Chambers, 6 p.m. Texas 4-H Roundup at Reed Arena, 7:30 Olson Boulevard at 7 p.m., June 4th through 6th. I think anyone from council is invited to attend that? Yeah. You're going to do that? Okay, good. June 5th, the Bryan College Station MPO Policy Board meeting, Commissioners Court at 9:30 a.m. The Legislative Affairs Committee is at Big Shots on Villa Maria at 1 p.m. June 6th, Planning and Zoning Commission meets City Hall right here at 6 p.m. Starlight Music Series is on June 8th, Wolf Pen Creek Amphitheater, 6 p.m. June 10th, Bike Ped Greenways committee meeting at City Hall, 3:30, and I assume that will be in 4141, probably. Check when you get here. June 11th, Parks Board, Larry J. Ringer Library, a meeting at 6 p.m. On June 11th, celebration of George Bush Library Museum events are all day, June 11th through 13th, which we heard earlier. June 12th, Exploring History Luncheons. It's a Juneteenth program. Guest speaker is Barbara Moore, and that'll be at the Larry J. Ringer Library, 11:30. City Council meeting will be back here on June 13th, City Hall at 4 p.m. Yes, Ms. Kuna, you got an addition to that, or community interest?
No, in addition to the calendar, just a reminder that May 28th is also the Republican Party runoff election day. We do have residents who are involved in that. We'd encourage you to educate and come out and vote.
Okay. Items of community interest. Anyone have an item of community interest they want to bring up? Mr. Maloney.
I just wanted to thank everyone for the Never Forget Gardens, and Councilwoman Harville did a fantastic job being one of the speakers there. And I hope I get his name right because I'm bad at knowing names. What is it? Stephen Richardson from the Parks Department?
Yeah.
That guy, every time I look around, that guy is there working. And he's supposed to be heading the troops, so it doesn't, if there's a chair missing, he's running out to get in the chair, goes back to what he's doing, getting water. I mean, they do such an incredible job that I just wanted to give a shout out to him. That guy is such a trooper. I can't believe it. He doesn't have any life. All he does is work in the park and this College Station. He does a great job.
I don't know whether you noticed this, and maybe you mentioned it, but one of the flags, the American flag, was wobbling a little bit. He saw that instantly and came up quietly from behind, tightened the screw, and then he put a little band around the pole from the tent to get it up straight. Right. Nobody ever asked about it. He just, his eyes are everywhere. He's got eyes in the back of his head, I think. Very good, very great staff member for sure.
You betcha.
Okay. Council reports on committees, boards, and commissions. Mr. Yancey, we start with you.
Thank you, Mayor Nichols. Since our last meeting, the Board of Health of the Brazos County Health District met. We handled various ministerial business, and we resolved to continue forward with strategic planning. Executive Director Santos Navarrete, to his credit, appealed to the board not to ask funding partners for help with funding a facility study, but instead to fund that study out of the health department's budget in the amount of $30,000. So the board will hear that item in the future and make a decision, and that constitutes your briefing. Thank you, Mayor Nichols.
Thank you. Ms. Kuna?
Mayor, I just had a resident contact me that's interested in serving on the Historic Preservation Board, and I was just wondering when that board opening might come.
Ms. Smith?
We have one vacancy right now, and there's only 6 months left of this term. So I've talked to Parks Department, and since there has been enough people showing up, we have a quorum every time. We're waiting until January to fill that position.
And the chairman agreed with that, correct? Yes. Yeah. Just have that person note that it'll be open in December,
Yes.
And then to apply at that time.
Yes.
Any other reports? I see none, so we move to future agenda items. Everybody wants to get out of here at 9? Okay, no future agenda items. I declare this meeting adjourned.